All right. Well, good evening. Time right now is 6 o'clock, right at 6 o'clock here on Sunday evening. And we're tracking the situation still. So far, so good. Of course, we really didn't expect things to get at least down across northwest Texas, southwest Oklahoma, too active until after 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. And as of right now, I'm watching two areas here and some developing possible scenarios. Well, and with this type of situation, we'll just have to kind of wait and see how it all plays out. But I'm watching two areas. There is a supercell thunderstorm that's out west here. That's located kind of over here, just to the southwest of Childers, kind of over into this area. And there's also some other storms kind of back into here. They're going to kind of merge. And at least in the short term, through 7 o'clock, this could create some problems down here into the southwestern parts of northwest Texas here. So basically, pot spot south of Childress down towards Paducah, maybe into parts of Ford and Knox County, and down towards Haskell, maybe Jayton, these areas. Again, your main concern with this area, and I'll show you radar in just a moment, would be damaging winds, large hail, and maybe a spin-up tornado or two, although that doesn't look like the main concern. Looks like mostly damaging winds there is our biggest concern. And I'm also watching storms that are really increasing kind of up here across central Oklahoma. All this activity is moving off to the southeast or east-southeast. I will say this, there is a bit of a lull in the activity right through here. And the thinking is that this is going to be a dominant area of storms, and then this will wind up being a dominant area of storms. So it's a question that it could wind up being a bit of a lull somewhere in here. This area, we'll watch and see what happens. That area may try to miss out on some of it. There's a lot of these rain-cooled thunderstorm boundaries around, and that might help to, maybe help to lessen the threat a bit. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out here. So there's your watches, a lot of watches. They go all the way from up there in Missouri, back into eastern New Mexico, through most of Texas, Oklahoma, down into most of North Texas under a watch here, all the way into western Louisiana. Numerous severe thunderstorms this evening. Look at all these warnings, folks. We got mostly severe thunderstorm warnings, a couple tornado warnings here or there from southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, all the way over there along Toledo Bend Reservoir into the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, a couple of big supercells down there. And then you got the thunderstorm activity across the Panhandle. And this is the area that we're going to watch to see if how this area here expands this evening. That's what's supposed to be producing our strong wind gusts, and you've got some heavy storms behind it as well here. Let's zoom in a little closer and kind of take a look. And like I said, there's a bunch of outflow boundaries around here. So this is what I'm talking about. Look here, folks. You've got thunderstorms that are pretty heavy up into this area here. Then you got our big storms over in this area. This would be behind everything. But you just notice how there's just not a lot of activity into this area. I believe that we had these showers and thunder showers earlier in the day. And I believe that they generated some of these little rain-cold boundaries. And I think it could have stabilized this area right in here a little bit. Maybe. And that would explain why you don't see much development there, but you do see it here and you do see it here. So, I mean, that's probably my drawings are probably a bit confusing there. But if you look, you notice you got, oh, come on, really? You notice you got thunderstorms that are, and by no means am I sounding the all clear here. We're watching everything develop here. You're watching this activity slide in this direction here. That heads up towards Oklahoma City. Then you got this activity dropping into this direction here. But notice there's just not a lot of activity there. There's some back behind it. But, what we're looking for would be thunderstorms to kind of merge all into this area here this evening and then drop in. And that would be our damaging wind threats. But you're really not seeing that materialize just yet. So I would think that, at least based upon what I'm seeing here on this particular radar image anyway, that your threat areas for now, this is just for now, are going to be up here in northern and central Oklahoma. And then with the bigger cells developing down into this area, across western parts of North Texas and maybe the eastern parts of the Panhandle. And we'll just wait and see what happens. This area doesn't look as favorable now as it did earlier. Those earlier showers, and we were talking about this during the last Facebook Live update, that we thought that might play a role in some of this. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. A lot can still change and everything can still come together. But at least for right now, I don't see anything. It looks like not a lot, in southwest Oklahoma or along the Red River. Let's hope that trend continues. But you still got this activity back off to the west. And in time, all that stuff's going to slide to the southeast. But this is your major thunderstorm area here. This is the one. This is the area here that generates the big winds and the big hail. And you got a supercell near Elton, and you got a supercell just north of Paducah. The one coming in from Paducah is dropping almost due south-southeast. You got the one towards Elton moving east-southeast. And you got them kind of lined up. But there's your thunderstorm complex area coming together now. All this stuff's going to merge. And, this is going to wind up moving in this direction here. So you're going to wind up seeing Ford County, Texas, back into Paducah, down towards Baylor County, Texas, parts of Archer County, Young County, Throckmorton County, down towards Haskell, Knox County, back towards to the north of Jayton and all those areas over there. That's going to be this is going to be your big wind event over in here, I think. Right there. Notice that puts Wichita Falls on the northeast side of all that, just out of it. And it also looks to me like you're going to see another area of strong wind gust here develop and kind of head over into this direction. Now, in time, these storms will probably begin to spin up and they'll wind up moving more to the south. And if that happens, then we can start trying to include more of these areas over here. But I'm just talking about, based upon radar trends right now, the two areas that I'm most concerned with, at least for the next, I'd say next couple of hours, would be kind of up into this area here, and then kind of in this area here, kind of where I drew this graphic right there. And again, your main concern there would be hail, high winds, maybe a spin up tornado in that area. And then up here in central Oklahoma, we'll see these storms happen as they kind of come together and kind of congeal together. But that's kind of what we're looking at. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see, what happens here with all of this activity. But, if you look here, notice how that thunderstorm towards Childress is dropping more south and southeast. I believe that's because the instability or the energy got gobbled up. Remember, we had all these little showers over in this area earlier. And I think it gobbled up all the energy. So therefore, this storm it's going to move where the energy is, and it's following the energy gradient where there haven't been any storms. So those showers earlier may have saved the day. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. Right there is a bit of a lull. And you're seeing a struggle for the showers and thunder showers to struggle here a bit. But we'll see what happens. You've got the main area storm still up here. There's your cold front is right in there. And you're now seeing thunderstorms develop along the cold front itself and merging with these storms down to the south. So this is going to develop into more of a line of storms this evening and begin to plow south. So that will increase the wind damage threat, but that won't be until after, 8 or 9 o'clock before that. But I'm talking about at least short term is that there. And then up here. And then we'll see what happens as we get into the evening here. But, areas south of Childress, towards Paducah, that's pretty dangerous thunderstorm. It doesn't look like it has quite the hail size, and it did. There's a supercell that's just north of Spur, Texas, headed towards Guthrie. It's probably kind of moving kind of east-southeast. It's going to merge with that up to the north, and it'll probably be some strong wind gusts down here in places like maybe a Haskell, Knox City, rural areas of northwest Texas here. And then maybe Throckmorton, maybe Seymour, but I don't know. I just have to see how it all plays out. But at least for the short term, and I'm talking about for the next couple of hours, I don't expect much in this area here. So Quanah, Vernon, Wichita Falls, maybe even Lawton, nothing. But, there the storms are emerging along the line, and those are eventually going to head down, but that'll be later on this evening. And again, a lot of the energy and instability is being gobbled up by those showers earlier in the day and those big supercells over here. So it may not have as much energy to work with. So it could, and I'm thinking out loud, that could save the day a bit. Let's hope and pray that it does. But at least in the short term, some of these storms are pretty strong out here. You got these out west. You go up into Amarillo now. I know we got people watching this Amarillo. There's a lot of storms, and these are producing some flooding rains just east of Amarillo. There's a tornado warning up north of Amarillo. And I'll see what happens as that storm drops to the south here. But with these storms all kind of clustering up, they're going to start producing some pretty good winds. But we'll just have to see, how much energy is left over when they get back down into this area. You can almost see these storms here they're going from more of an easterly direction to kind of spinning. You probably got some little developing little meso low pressure systems along this here too. All this is going to merge into a line up there. So, and that'll be what's blasting through later on tonight. But at least in the short term, you got some storms northwest of Oklahoma City. These are hail producers. That was a pretty big hail producer there, northwest of Oklahoma City. That's developing supercell near Elk City. Probably got some hail in it and probably some developing wind as well. The cells east of Amarillo, heavy rain, hail producers, maybe some gusty winds. We'll look at the winds in them here soon. Not much going on. I mean, these are nothing showers. We call that garbage in the world of weather. Here are your bigger storms in North Texas. These are some big supercells. And if we time to take a look at the winds in them. You have to forgive me. There's a bit of a data lag in this here. Give it a second. It'll come on around. But there, and even looking at this here, I don't see huge winds in this. I mean, there's probably some pretty good winds there just northwest of Paducah. Probably some pretty good winds there coming in. It's so far away from radar sight, so it's very, very difficult to see it out here. Then you got those storms down to the south. And again, all that stuff merges together. When it does, that's when you're going to really see everything ramp up. You'll see heavy wind, strong wind gust, and that may be when you start seeing some spin ups also as well when those two areas kind of merge together there. You can see a little bit of, again, this is super high up in the atmosphere, just north of Paducah. There's a little bit of spin in that, but that's way up high. This stuff, west of Oklahoma City, up near Elk City, I really do see a bit of a circulation, anticyclonic, or excuse me, a cyclonic or circulation up here, pretty broad. But that would not be tornadic. That would be indicating an area of damaging winds trying to develop. So see, what's happening is all this stuff is trying to develop now. That's what it's doing. It hasn't developed, matured yet. It's trying to mature. But we'll just have to see how it goes. At least for now, that up there, hail and some gusty winds, your bigger wind threats with this cluster of storms dropping into Paducah. I wonder if, let's put on this here. Give me a second. Let's see if we got Weatherman Cam yet. So yeah, we do have Weatherman Cam, and I'm not sure where Weatherman Cam is, but there's a view from the tracker. Can we take Weatherman Cam? We got anybody up there to take Weatherman Cam? I don't guess we do, not yet. But anyway, that's a view from the tracker, and it looks like he's over there in probably Ford County. But that's that big storm that's away from the area there, and there's a little flick. He flicked it over to the dash cam. And, you can kind of see that out there, but that's what we're looking at from the tracker. And again, he's headed after that big cell out west there on this one here. So in the short term, again, not anything much expected for the next couple of hours, other than a shower in the Lawton area, Wichita Falls, Vernon. But later on this evening, and it looks like it's going to be even later. It may even be 10, 11 o'clock, but that's your main line of thunderstorms that will develop there. That's what could produce some big wind gusts down here. But to me, your more intense activity, at least for right now, is with that activity out west. And that's pretty intense stuff. And you better believe the energy and instability really being gobbled up in this area by those little showers and those bigger storms out west. So when it gets here, there's a chance it could be weakened. It could be enough of the energy zap that it could wind up saving us some. We'll just have to see how it plays out. And if you watch me enough, I'm thinking out loud. I'm not forecasting that. This is one of those situations where you just have to kind of wait and see how it all plays out. You're dealing with small scale things in the atmosphere, little things that oftentimes our weather information cannot discern, and it cannot pick up on as well. It's getting better, but it can't get it all. It can't do as well as it used to. But we're going to be live most of the evening. There's no reason not to. I might take some breaks here or there, but for the most part, at least in Southwest Oklahoma, Northwest Texas, there's just not a whole lot. Now down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there actually been some storms, and again, our weather models did not pick up on this. That's a big supercell east of Stephenville. That's a big hail producer. You also got some cellular activity northeast of Dallas with some small hail there up towards the Sulphur Springs area and south and east of Sherman. So that's going to miss the Metroplex. I still think late tonight, I'm talking about after midnight, there could be some activity there in the Dallas area with some gusty winds there. But at least in the short term, That's your biggest threat area out here. Paducah, Guthrie, maybe into parts of Ford and Hardeman County, maybe. But some pretty big hail in that one near Elton, north of Spur. But that's going to build, like I was saying a minute ago, that's going to build kind of into this area here with a bit of a lull up here. Nothing. Now, I suppose it's a chance. I'm not saying this will happen, but there is a chance that this storm cluster begins to bow out a bit. And if it does begin to bow out a bit, then it could wind up, getting the wind, damaging wind areas going up in this area too. You can see it spreading out some. So I do think Ford County, maybe parts of Hardeman County, Knox County, Texas, kind of back towards Paducah and over that way towards Haskell, those areas. Pretty strong wind gust there. And again, there's Weatherman Cam's view. Beautiful view there. I don't guess we can take Weatherman Cam, can we? Let me see if I can get somebody. I'll be right back, guys. I got to see if I can get somebody in the booth to take camera and hold you right back. All right, so Cameron continues to move there. We're going to get it to where we can take Cameron here in just a moment as well. So I'm going to go back to radar here. But we can do this here. If y'all can't see it, I can make me a lot smaller. We can do that. How about that? Is that better for you? I mean, it's still a chance, Allie. Just at least in the short term, it's it looks like the worst is southwest of us for sure. But I do believe we get blasted with some storms later tonight. But how strong they're going to be, I don't know. I mean, a lot of the instability that we were relying upon for this to really, feed this event, could be getting chewed up. But I'm telling you, man, where those cells are out there into the Paducah area, Kroll, down towards Knox City, that's the real deal. Maybe even Seymour eventually. That's the real deal there, folks. That is a nasty, nasty thunderstorm. Nasty thunderstorm. So let me see if we can take Cameron now. Can we take Cameron? Cameron, can you hear me? Cameron, can you hear me? He said he has cell service problems. Well, I'm trying to take Cameron anyway, but I don't know that he can hear me here. So what we can do is this here. Let's do this. All right. Cameron, can you hear me? Cameron, come in. Can you hear me?
And I want him to be like, why is he not talking? I want him to know that.
Come in. I'm trying to talk to Cameron now. But anyway, you can see Cameron's view here. He's got a good view of that storm. I don't know why he cannot hear me, but he cannot hear me right now. Cameron, come in. Cameron, come in.
This guy audio comes to my phone. Ken. Okay. Am I up?
Cameron.
Hey, sorry, Ken. I was in a pretty rough dead zone when it came to internet. So, hey, we're here. We're in western Ford County right now, going towards the Paducah area, and you look at the tracker feed, and pretty dark clouds ahead of us. Going towards the storm this time, coming out from the going through the western parts of Ford County. So unfortunately, with that being said, we're pretty rural out here. So if you don't hear me answer to you, it's just because cell service is really very much in and out. I just lost it again. As a matter of fact, it's just very in and out right now. So that's our play. I don't know if we're necessarily going to get into the storm just yet. Our plan here this evening, though, is to kind of ride out with the storms here. We got all the camera angles ready to go, so we're going to have to just rough ride for the entirety of the night until we, until this threat does pass. But that's the latest from the tracker. We're again in the western portions of Ford County, going towards that big old storm out there near Paducah. And yeah, that's what I got for you.
Here's what we're doing here, Cameron. We're going to chase that storm out there because that's where the danger zone is in the at least short term through about 7-8 o'clock. That's where it's at. You know, I've been talking about this throughout the day, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all comes together. But those little showers that we had over us earlier, I believe they gobbled up the instability. I don't know. It looks to me like there's a little bit of a lag there in that storm energy, over northwest along the Red River anyway. Now there is a line of storms finally developing up northwest of Oklahoma City, from about just northwest of Oklahoma City back to about Amarillo. But that's still several hours away, so you've got plenty of time to be able to go look at that and then kind of come back east if we need to. But we'll just have to see. A lot of the weather information has backed off on that MCS some across parts of northwest Texas. Actually, it kind of hits it hardest where you're at right now, and then it kind of brings it all together again, kind of a little bit south of us. So that's not a forecast by any means, but that is something. Some of the weather information has kind of shown a little bit.
That's it's kind of where we're at right now. Given the way the radar trends have been over the past hour or so, I'd say it looks like most of the stuff is again kind of going further south at this time than we initially anticipated. Of course, that can still change, but just given what we have on radar right now, that's how it looks at this time. And I'm not too sure if you can see on the camera, but you definitely have a shelf cloud on the storm that's coming across here into the western portions of Ford County here very soon. I don't know how close I am. I'm fairly close to the storm right now, but with that being said, my original thought was it'd be a Highway 287 chase. However, right now I'm on Highway 70, so I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. It's going to be dependent upon where the strongest stuff does step. And right now, the strongest stuff does look like it's going to be moving through the far western, southwestern portions of the area right now. So Knox County, Ford County, and we're just going to keep watching it. And that's our play right now. We're just going to kind of play with the storm for a little bit, but luckily this thing is moving slow. But once these do start to come together and start to really congeal into a line, they'll become some pretty quick movers as well. So going to be a gritty chase is probably the best way to put it, with the fast motion, the heavy rain, the strong winds, and the hail. I mean, that's a beautiful shelf cloud right now. So I'm not too sure if you can see that on the camera, but I'm actually going to go ahead and pull over. I got time, so I'm going to pull over and put the camera on that shelf cloud. That's a pretty good looking shelf cloud right now.
If there's any type of wall cloud with it or anything like that, but yeah, you're going to see some pretty structure with that storm out there, and you're in western Ford County, right?
County. I'm about I'm about 15 miles west of Crowell right now. I'm basically, the best way to put it, I'm smack dab middle of Crowell and Paducah at this time.
Pretty good position to see that storm. So yeah, but that's the only thing in town. So I'll come back to you in a minute. But yeah, that's a beautiful view. You going to move the camera a little bit more for us?
Camera here set up better so you guys can all see this beautiful shelf cloud right now.
Wondering where the shelf cloud is at home. It's basically a cloud that's associated with gusty winds. You'll see this cloud that kind of fingers down out of the storm. It almost looks kind of like a bit of a circle. So what you see there is that's condensed air, that's rain-cooled air that's falling out of the thunderstorm here, and it's dense and it's heavier, so it points down. It kind of points down towards the ground, and that's what you see there. That's that big shelf cloud there. And with that will come some gusty wind. A lot of times it's kind of got like a collar, or kind of rings, if you will. It kind of goes up, and you kind of see some rings with it. And underneath that, you get those gusty winds, and you see temperatures drop. Of course, Cameron is cleaning the lens cap off there, so you can see it a little bit better. But you can see the striations, if you will, or the little bit of the circular motion. Probably some spin with that storm up top, way up high in the atmosphere. But that certainly is not a tornadic-looking storm there. It's mostly going to be just a wind and hail, rain type of situation there. A lot of lightning with it too. And lightning is one of those things that are very, very underrated, because lightning is the type of situation. Lightning is, especially this time of year, can be is deadly. And a lot of people are outdoors doing things outdoors, and they, you know, that's why it's important. If you hear thunder, get inside. Or if you get these clouds that start darkening up, get inside until the threat has passed. So hard to say if there is any type of wall cloud with that or anything like that. It's certainly got a really nice looking structure to it, but again, that's way out there in very rural areas. Of course, we'll keep an eye on things throughout the evening and check in often with Weatherman Cam there. Be careful out there, Weatherman Cam. So again, with radar, I've drawn a lot of stuff on here. And, you know, people say, oh, Ken says the threat's lessening over Wichita Falls. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it looks like for now the worst of it is passing west-southwest of us. And also north. Look, there's a tornado warning now on this storm northwest of Oklahoma City. And you do see these storms starting to kind of congeal a bit from just north of Amarillo all the way in. So that's probably your developing MCS there. I bet that's what that is. I bet that's what you got. So you got your cold front. You got this activity developing like this along the front. You got a little bit of a finger of a couple supercells, and that's going to all move in this direction. Eventually, all this stuff's going to link up. But where does it link up at? Does it link up here? Does it link up? Where does it link up at? You know, because when it begins to merge and link up, that's where you're going to see some pretty rough weather. There is a bit of a lull. There is a little bit of a lack of energy in this area right now. But by the time that MCS gets here, there could be some mergers with some of these storms, and that could change the game a bit. But the worst of the winds, at least short term, I'm talking about through 8 o'clock, are going to be with these storms out west. So if you live in Ford County, if you live in Knox County, or anywhere west of that, heavy rain, some hail, and strong gusty winds here. It's on the edge of the radar, so it's real difficult to see, you know, what the winds itself look like in the storm. It's like I say, it's on the edge of the radar there. But you do see some spin in it, a little bit of some spin anyway there. Oh, kind of just east of Paducah, but that's hitting that storm up really high in the sky, and it's very, very, very difficult to be able to see that. So I believe Cameron has a pretty good view of that though from his vantage point there. That's a pretty good view. Cameron, that's a pretty good view there, buddy.
Oh man, this thing is mesmerizing. Look at this thing has some really pretty wicked structure. You can see the mesocyclone, you can see the shelf cloud, you can see the fingers coming out of it, just that, you know, the lower hanging clouds this time. You can see obviously the rain shaft through it as well. And I'm sure behind that thing is packing some pretty mean punches with the wind. And, you know, something I'm looking at too when it comes to chasing right now is this thing's, I mean, that reflectivity scan is pretty wicked when it comes to hail. So it looks like it could be some big time hail coming down that storm near Paducah. And, you know, it looks like they're linking up. And I'm hoping, or, you know, in terms of chasing, is if they link up in the middle there north of Guthrie, I do lose some of the east and west options, which would make the chase a little bit harder. But what I could be doing here shortly is go towards the Paducah area, drop south out of Paducah, and if I have to go further south towards Benjamin or Kroll, you know, whatever I have to do, those would be my options here. But I'm watching to see how far south this thing has dropped, because it does have a bit of a almost like a south-southeast motion at this time. So it's only a matter of time for it does smash in that storm off to the west over the Dickens area, west of Guthrie right now. So strongest winds definitely over Paducah with some big-time hail. I'm not too sure what the biggest hail on that is at this time, but definitely some packing a punch with that storm.
Rotating a bit, Cameron. Looking at that cloud there, is there maybe a little wall cloud there on the back end?
You know, I mean, I see what you're talking about on the camera shot. I don't know if it's necessarily a wall cloud this time. I don't believe it is to be. It could just be part of the shelf cloud itself, kind of on the backside, wrapping around a bit. Because you think about it, we're watching this storm. In terms of where we're at right now, this storm is pushing off to the south right now. It does show some rotation, you know, potentially on radar. Nothing crazy defined or well put this time, but you know, the storm's pushing off to my south right now. So the tracker right now is pointing due west. This thing's dropping off to the south, so it's pulling away from us is what it's ultimately doing. But I don't personally see a wall cloud or anything that looks me, you know, jumps me and says, hey, that's a wall cloud. You definitely see actually, if you look at the bottom base of that, you can see the rain shafts kicking out ahead of it from the strong winds. Let me get out adjust the camera so people at home can see that. That's pretty wicked to see.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that there. Again, that's way out there in rural areas, but it's still cool to look at. And on radar, you can really see that storm. It looks like some big hail moving over Paducah now, some wind-driven hail moving through Paducah, Texas. And new warnings have now been issued for Ford and Knox County, and this would be strong gusty winds. That's what the warnings are for, and that and some wind-driven hail. And then you've also got these storms that are kind of north of Jayton. They're kind of moving east-southeast. They're going to link up with those storms. And you actually see a little bit on the north side of this storm complex here now, kind of just west of Childress. You see a little bit of more of an easterly move to the northern stuff with the big supercell dropping south. So a lot of things are going to evolve here this evening. A lot of things are going to come together, and it's just going to be interesting to see how everything winds up coming together here this evening. Because at some point in time, these storms here are going to link up with these storms to the north here. And yeah, that's when you're going to, it'll probably do so somewhere over into this area, I bet. Yeah, we do have that little bit of a lull in energy in that area, but as everything begins to merge, it might kind of compensate for all of that. See pretty gusty winds there, but those are the most dangerous storms on radar, at least for now, is Paducah, in the Paducah area. And if you put that in motion, it's a long way from the radar, so it's hard to say, if it's, what the rotation looks like. It's definitely got some spin to it, but, nothing, it looks like it's got some really strong winds in it. And, those strong winds, kind of moving more south than southeast. But they could clip southwestern forward and maybe eventually make their way down into western Knox County. So places like maybe, about 7:30 or so, Benjamin, Knox City could see some gusty winds, some heavy rain from all of that. But that's going to move south of Quanah. But again, you do see some new updrafts on the back side of this thing, and maybe even some new little supercells trying to develop some little hooks there. Are those going to move more southwest, or are they eventually going to split off and go more east? As of right now, it looks like they're moving kind of more southwest, or excuse me, southeast there. So, that's what we're looking at. And again, here's the picture of that storm. Camera, looks like it might even be a little bit high base there, buddy.
Just the camera, I want to point something out here is if you look, you see some of those, the wispy look underneath the cloud at that time. That's rain. But what's cool to see here is the rain itself. You can see it getting kicked out ahead of the storm right now. Just to give you an idea on the gusty conditions that are within the storm. So you can see the rain getting kicked out ahead of the storm right now. So that's pretty telling of how strong those winds are within the storm at this time. I think the warning has it tagged for 70-mile-per-hour winds, but pretty cool to see, just how far out those rains are kicking, just because, and actually see potentially some dust kicking out ahead of it as well, just from those winds hitting the surface and kicking all that stuff out to the east.
So is that shelf cloud up top? Does it appear to be rotating and circling around the updraft, the mesocyclone?
So it does look like, okay, so obviously you have the mesocyclones kind of when it comes to, if you want to look at this in a stacking method here, potentially your middle layer here looks like your mesocyclone. Below it does look like to be a bit of a shelf cloud, but it might have some spin on it as well. But if you far left of your screen, I'm watching some areas where you can see some better motions within the storm. It's not a super rapid movement right now. Potentially maybe in the middle, you might be trying to see a wall cloud come together in the middle. So maybe it's not a shelf cloud, maybe it's potentially RFD. Wow, that's some pretty good lightning on it as well. But you can see it does look like it does have some counterclockwise spin actually. Wow, really good counterclockwise spin on that. So maybe in the middle there, maybe that's a wall cloud trying to come together. Let's see.
It's really way out there in a very rural area, which is some good news. Again, over Texoma here, there's just not a lot going on. It's just kind of a bit of a quietness. We're watching those storms out west. It's going to be that way through at least 8 o'clock here, folks. Maybe even a little bit later. We'll look at some weather data in just a moment. But these storms over here are going to track kind of like this here. Big wind, hail, and maybe a spin-up tornado in places like Knox City, Stanford, Texas, Haskell, Jayton, those areas. We'll see. I think these storms, the worst of them, at least for now, will probably remain just west of Seymour, but it'll be a close call. Throckmorton could be in on that too. We'll see. For right now, we'll keep Graham just a little bit east, but we'll have to see how it all develops here. But at least early term, Wichita Falls, Bowie, these areas, all quiet, nothing going on here, just kind of humid out there. I'm watching these storms developing on the back side of all this. They appear to be moving southeast as well. They don't appear to be moving in this direction. They appear to be moving more southeast than east. But if those were to split off, they could move across parts of southwestern parts of Oklahoma. But you can see your line really coming together up to the north. You do got some severe and tornado warnings up north of Oklahoma City. And if you kind of take a look here, there are some pretty strong winds. You can see some increasing wind gusts and all that activity up there now. And if we kind of follow it back to the west here, some pretty strong wind gusts developing along Interstate 40 there, and some pretty good wind gusts now south of Amarillo. A lot of heavy rainfall over there from about just northwest of Amarillo all the way through Interstate 40, just east of Amarillo. And that's your developing a line of thunderstorms along the cold front itself. And at some point, that's going to link up with the storms to the south. So you wind up seeing a situation where you'll probably see something that looks like this later on this evening, but it may be more like over in here. You'll see some damaging wind swaths here, damaging wind swaths there. We'll just have to see if those damaging wind swaths can develop into this area without the instability. Well, let's look at some model data real fast. Let me pull some in. Give me a second. I got to pull some in here. I got to find it first. Well, I had some in here a minute ago, but now I cannot find it. I'm deleting some stuff out of my show so I can find some stuff. So I can't find anything right now. Things all just a lot of stuff in here in my show here. So here is the latest future radar here. This is the HRRR future radar is what this is. And if you kind of look here, there are your storms. There they are now. So this may not be handling the situation well, but it does show those storms out west moving into Haskell and down into Knox County. Then you see the storms up there near Oklahoma City kind of moving southeast. It does develop around 8 o'clock. It starts filling the radar in some. But notice how you have splits here. You know, you've got one area. I'm going to walk over to the wall and show you this here. This is what I'm talking about. You've got a split here, folks. So this is weather data. This is model data and what radar could look like around 9 o'clock. Now, the consistent signal throughout the last couple of days has been for one solid area of storms to come crashing on down through here in widespread damaging winds. But the trends for the last couple of hours have been for less of that and for more of these clusters of thunderstorms. And embedded within these clusters, there'll still be damaging wind gusts, hail, and downpours. But this would suggest that, remember I said there's a bit of a lull in the instability right through here, so you got a break in it. You got the action up here, then you got the big supercells down to the south here. Hail would be a big concern with this type of scenario with isolated areas of strong wind gusts, maybe a spin-up tornado or two in here. But this would lessen the widespread nature of those big winds like everybody's been talking about here. So, yes, wind damage with these down here, wind damage with these up here, hail, all of it's, all severe weather aspects still a possibility. But this scenario suggests, and it's been trends we've been watching, strong up here, southeast of Oklahoma City, a break right in there. No, it's not because of the Red River. It's because those early showers we had, that little band of showers that we had pushing through, between about 1 and 4 o'clock this afternoon, they just gobbled up that instability. They just took it out. And, you still had it to the south, you had it to the north. So maybe again, this is a thought, and let's hope this happens here. But you still got some pretty dangerous wind gusts down in this direction. Still got some pretty significant downpours up here, and again, hail with any of this activity as well here. So let's hope that this continues, these trends do continue. I'm not saying they will, but it certainly is a possibility. I've been watching this. Cameron and I were talking earlier that we thought that, there were some indications that this was trending less towards an MCS and more toward a scattered type thunder. Now there you go. There's your solid line coming together now. So, but again, with any of these storm clusters, there still could be some really strong wind gusts and hail there. But there they are moving into the Dallas-Fort Worth area around midnight or so. That may be where your biggest wind event is, our southern parts of the area here. So let's just keep an eye on it. I'm certainly not giving the all clear, that's for sure, but let's just keep an eye on it and just see how things go. Let's just see how they go. At least short term, that is some big hail. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen, at least here in this area, the purple mixing in there with the blue. That's some humongous hail there. Huge hail. I don't know if this is going to let me see it or not. But, sometimes you look at this, you can do it's a long way from the radar site, so it'd be hard to see. But this shows those hail cores going up. Wow, that was showing the hail cores themselves reaching 30,000 feet, which would represent some really, really big hail in those thunderstorms. Let me tilt that a little bit better. Yeah, that shows some of those dark purple colors getting up to 20,000 feet. And the rain cores go all the way up to about 50,000 feet. That's a pretty big thunderstorm. That's a big thunderstorm. So it certainly is a significant thunderstorm. But it seems like, when we have severe weather, this is always where it's at, is over here. Let me, but it's a pretty big supercell thunderstorm. Cameron is on it. But this is the main game in town. But you can see it's got a bit of a kink there to the middle of it. With that big hail, I'm talking huge, probably baseball, softball size hail there, southeastern, just southeast of Paducah. Now this could brush extreme southwestern parts of Ford and maybe northwestern Knox County here. So I'm watching out for Benjamin and Knox City. That could be some pretty big hail moving in your direction there. It's going to be real difficult for me to see any rotation in this because it is so far from the radar site. Let me see if I can see any better out of Lubbock. What's that?
Whenever you get hungry.
Oh, thanks, man. Chris, bring us some dinner, man. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. But yeah, it's a long way it's a long way from the radar site there to really be able to see anything out of that there. Long way. But again, that's way out there. I'm just trying to see if I can see a better, location. It's way out there, but it does have some massive hail with it. And if we go to Cameron, it's hard. Let's get underneath that shelf cloud now. That thing's got some really big hail there, and looks like southeast of Paducah. He may not be able to hear me. There's some cell phone issues out there, so he may not be able to hear me. But yeah, there's Cameron's feed, and he's kind of out there. That's the main game in town, at least right now. That's why he's out there. Cameron will come back this way once we get that line in the area, so I'm going to jump off of there for now. But yeah, that's pretty significant areas of wind developing. Now, here you go. You're starting to see the storms, now developing, southeast of all this area here. They've been stuck back there to the northwest of Amarillo. Now they're developing south here. And there's your other area. You're going to wind up seeing, with this cluster of storms up to the north, you can almost see a bit of a turn to it, a little bit of a twist. You can kind of see it here. So what you're going to wind up seeing is this is going to wind up producing some pretty big bow echoes down through here, I bet. Oklahoma City, Chickasha, and then we may see this area back here kind of fill in some. But at least for right now, the areas that I'm most concerned with, and this could change, you can see a little bit of development just east of Childress there now too, is going to be two swaths of big wind damage here, I think. Big, strong wind gust. Kind of down into here, and then kind of over into here. Here is a question mark, but I'm not taking us out of that threat, but I'm talking about the worst of it, at least for now, is here and here. So let's hope that these trends continue. Well, it's not good for our neighbors north or south, but it's better for the more populated area here close to Wichita Falls and Lawton. So we'll just have to see. A lot of the energy, again, is getting zapped out, and a lot of this was dependent upon lots of instability, and it's still up there, but a lot of it's kind of going to be aloft, and it won't be as much what we call cape down at the Earth's surface, and maybe a lot of it kind of suspended up some. So that might, and again, this is me thinking out loud. Look at those storms down here near Spur, how it's really kind of bunching up now, and it's beginning to kind of bow out a little bit towards Jayton. It's going to merge with those cells up to the north near Chalk, southeast of Paducah, and that's going to move just like this here. Just like that. So that may be your zone of most intense winds there. Could be. So, I'm talking about Knox City, Throckmorton, maybe Seymour. We'll watch Graham. But if we're lucky, it might miss us to the southeast. Maybe it may miss Wichita Falls to the southeast. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it could. It could. I wonder what the Weather Service is saying. They're just talking about, they do say 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts and baseball-size hail in Ford and Knox. this is triggering a destructive tag on their severe thunderstorm warning there. Let's see if we can take Cameron now. Cameron, can you hear me now by chance?
Yep, I can hear you now, Ken.
To the storm there, it looks like they got destructive tag for parts of Ford and Knox County. That thing's got some big hail.
So you're cutting in and out right now. I'm not too sure what you heard, what you said, but I am watching on radar. And what I've done, kind of had two options. I can either A, go towards the Paducah area and drop south. What I think I'm going to do here is I'm backpedaling towards Kroll just a little bit. I'm going to get to Kroll, and then I have an option to drop north and south. However, that is a north and south option intersection-wise. That's my only access between Kroll and Benjamin. And then the only, what I'm trying to do here though also is I'm trying to position myself for eventually when this stuff does all link up and turn into that line. We want to be keeping a close eye on that damaging wind threat. So with that being said, I'm going towards the Kroll area, and I could go that highway towards Benjamin and what you've got between Benjamin and Kroll, but again, that's a north-south option. I think I might still do that, just maybe not all the way down, but just keep eyes on the storm. If it comes across, it comes across, but that's going to be the place. My main roadway is going eastward, either coming out of Seymour, or not Seymour, excuse me, but Benjamin towards Seymour, or Kroll up towards the Vernon area on 287. So just kind of doing some light positioning work at this time. I'm 3 minutes away from Kroll, and I'll probably go south a little bit out of there, get a better eye on the storm, but looking at my viewers, I mean, that is a scary looking shelf cloud. It's just a shelf cloud, that's all it is, but it's definitely menacing looking. And looking at the radar, looking at that hail, that's some big time hail coming down within that storm. So not a storm to be fooling around with. Got some pretty gusty winds on it as well. So we're trying to work our way, again, just setting ourselves better for this storm. And the road network does get a little blah out here for us, but that's the latest from here. We'll be pulling in a Kroll here in the next 2 minutes.
All right, so we'll check in with you then, Weatherman Cam. So people earlier were saying, oh, Reed Timber's going to be in town. And Weatherman says, I hear that Weatherman Cam is already in town. That was a good response, by the way. I loved it. So again, I'm looking at people's questions on Facebook here. Let's see, it was really humid now, and it got pretty cold up in Amarillo. That's because the storms have now, the front's already pushed through Amarillo, so it's some chilly air up there. That's what's dropping to the south here. And thanks, JBJ Holdings, for saying we rock. You rock. Thank you. And again, I'm just looking at people moving and talking here. That's all I'm doing here. So on Facebook. So, and once again, after reading some of the posts on some of these Facebook pages, one that Cam said, "Oh, I hear Cam is going to be Weatherman Cam isn't." Sorry about that, folks. I don't know. My stream went down. So I'm going to have to kind of try to get that back up again, but we're not down. I'm not off here. It's just we stream by Facebook and whatnot through a program called OBS, and OBS went down on me here. It happens sometimes. So, and I'm not going to guarantee it won't happen again. So I may have to do some other things when it comes to the stream here this evening. But let me see if I can get that thing back up and going here. All right, let's see. I'm going to text my engineer and let him know. Yeah, let's go to Cameron right now. Looks like we got our feed back up again, and there is Weatherman Cam right now. So let's go to Cameron. That's a really nice shot of that shelf cloud there. There is Weatherman Cam right now. So let's go to Cameron. That's a really nice shot of that shelf cloud there.
Oh boy, this thing is mean looking, Ken. This is a mean looking shelf cloud coming across. You can see the upper parts of the mesocyclone on the top half of the shot. You can see the what looks to be the shelf cloud in the middle of it, and then you do still have some rising motion on the back side of it as well. So this thing is coming across, still pulling in some pretty good air, pretty healthy storms this time. But in terms of a wall cloud, I don't personally see anything that's overly glaring when it comes to wall cloud. You might be seeing some attempts on the far back side of the storm right now. However, given the wind shear, the direction of the storm, and what might be a potential wall cloud trying to come together, doesn't look very favorable for this storm. But I mean, the big story with this is going to be the nasty winds with it, the big time hail coming with it. So this thing's not say a scary looking storm, but it's kind of scary looking, Ken. This is a pretty menacing shelf cloud. It's got a lot of those what I call the fingers dropping on the cloud, just like it's just gonna come running across the area, drop a hail, drop the wind and all that, and then of course the blinding rains are associated with it as well. But I'm south of Coral, about 5 to 8 miles south of Coral, and I'm going towards the Benjamin area right now. And like I said, just an absolutely menacing shot of the storm. I'm about to pull off up here shortly and just kind of watch the storm as it comes across. And I guess if you want me to, I can either A, stay south of this storm, or we can just let it come right over the top of us and see what's inside it. I know we got some big hail, but how big we're seeing, well, we don't know. Well, I mean, we got an idea on how big we're seeing, but if you want to see what's inside the storm, we can set up to be inside it.
That's a wall cloud in the back of it trying to develop there, Cameron. Do you see any inflow into it?
It does have some inflow, but it is a little bit cloudy. Let me pull up here in between these trees to get a better look at this thing. It does look like it does have some inflow on the backside right now, but the inflow, where the inflow is, got inflow coming out to the due, from the due east a little bit. Nothing overly impressive. It's got some good, inflow on the backside. You also got some rising motion on the backside as well, feeding into it as well. So you have, some moving parts of the storm right now, but in terms of, overly glaring, concerning right now, nothing crazy at this time.
Definitely see some scud clouds there on the backside of it getting sucked up into that updraft there. Very interesting looking cloud formation. Almost looks like a finger coming down there on the backside camera. Kind of zoom that camera in just a little bit there to the backside there a little bit. Not too tight, but let's zoom in a little bit closer so we can see that. Because I do believe that's a wall cloud there, honestly. That's just what it looks like to me. So just kind of zooming in just a little bit. That not super tight. Just to the camera in, just a little bit on the back side there of that. Not super tight, but just a little bit. So we can have a look at it. But that's what we're looking at there. So if you look, there's that's some scud clouds getting sucked up into it. You can see the rise in motion there in that part of the storm. And, it looks to me like that's a little bit of you got a little bit of spin back in that area. So, I mean, obviously this is not a tornado or nothing like that, but you do got some spin. That is a bit of a wall cloud there on the back side of all of this here. And you do have, you do got moisture getting sucked up into it. And this is that storm out there southeast of Paducah, kind of flirting with Knox and Ford County. But you do got some lowering, some base lowering. You do got a bit of a wall cloud in there. It is rotating a little bit. There's not a lot of spin in the atmosphere to make this thing produce a tornado. It would have a little more increasing spin once it got a little bit closer or maybe interacted with some of those cells to the south. But at least for now, this is not really a tornado situation, although sometimes the instability itself can cause these things to spin a little bit. So that is what we're seeing right now with that. Pretty nice little wall cloud there with this storm here. Pretty nice. Yeah, Cameron, that to me looks like it's developed pretty nicely. I mean, you can see the upward motion there for sure, and you can see the turquoise there in the background, which indicates some hail there too.
Yeah, definitely got some hail. Definitely got some big time hail, man. Yeah, there is that rising motion. You got clouds on the backside of the storm that are feeding into it, and you do have, wow, check out that line. That's some good lightning as well. But you can still see the rising motion to it. However, again, like you said, one of the limiting factors right now is that there's not a ton of spin in the atmosphere. So I wouldn't be surprised maybe this does try to organize a wall cloud. But however, I don't expect it to necessarily do much. Now, of course, you can't let our guard down. It's not me saying don't worry about this, but just something we have to watch closely. But the overall atmosphere when it comes to tornadoes, not overly supportive for something to drop out of this. But you never know. Sometimes mesoscale accidents happen, so we'll have to keep a close eye on this. And I'm just getting a little bit further south to position myself better with this shelf cloud that comes over. So we're getting a little further south right now, coming down towards the Benjamin area, in between Benjamin and Coral this time. So dropping south, probably only for a few minutes, then we'll park for a little bit more, and if we have to adjust, we can. But we're going to watch this thing come across.
I'm going to jump off here for just a second there and just continue to look at those. There's some pretty nasty storms. Now moving into southwestern parts of Ford County and be moving over here into Knox County here shortly. So that's what we're looking at. We got a really nice bird's eye view of it. Dangerous thunderstorm with hail and wind. What we're looking at here. So all right. So I'm so kind of to reset the current situation. Currently, we have the severe thunderstorm watch that's in effect, of course. And we've got several severe thunderstorm warnings with those cells that are out west. Okay. So that's what's going on with those. But here further west across most of Texoma, we're okay for right now. And it's hard to say, but I don't know, with the way the way the radar looks and the way the instability and all looks in the atmosphere, it could be a situation where that early stuff we had from earlier today could be, it could be it could be kind of hurting, these storms a bit. And we talked about this, how we thought that might happen. I'm not saying that that's going to kill everything for later on this evening, but it certainly is something that I'll be keeping an eye on. And I'd certainly be very grateful if that were indeed the situation here. So let's just keep an eye and see how things unfold here. I'm trying to get my graphics back up again. I had to go to a different source here. So, and we'll get them back up again here in just a second. All right. Now, should be streaming here in just a second. Should be up and going here in just a second. Give me a second. And here we go. There it is. All right. Let's go back full screen again. So we're watching these thunderstorms. This is where Weatherman Cam is. Weatherman Cam is out here on these storms to the west, and there's a lot of hail coming in with these thunderstorms. Southwestern parts of Ford County and coming into northwestern parts of Knox County. So if you're in Kroll, you're going to see some downpours and maybe some smaller hail. But if you're down in northwestern Knox County, especially along the border of Knox and Ford County, there's some pretty big hail moving into that area right now, and headed down towards the Gillian area, maybe Benjamin. And from there, this is looks like the trajectory here, kind of moving a little bit more east and southeast now. Could wind up making its way across parts of Baylor, and parts of southern Wilbarger County, maybe even Throckmorton County. The main concern with this is hail. But as you can see from Cameron's shot there, that is a beautiful picture of this storm. You can see the overall mesocyclone there in it. You got the horseshoe look to it, probably got some spin to it, and right there in the middle of it, that's where you got all that strong wind gust area, and that's where you got the hail falling too. Very heavy downpour. Cameron, that's a really awesome shot you got there.
Got the hail falling too. Very heavy downpour. Cameron, that's a really awesome shot you got there.
Oh man, this thing, like I said, this thing's pretty evil looking. This is a good looking shelf cloud. Lots of lightning with it. Great structure, great mesocyclone. You got some scud clouds out ahead of it. You got that turquoise color behind it, showing the big time hail is coming down in it. You still maybe have attempts at the wall cloud on the backside as well. However, I'm not seeing as much rising motion associated at this time either. But I mean, this thing's just a
very photogenic storm. And where are you at right now? Where in proximity to where you're at? Where is that cloud there located? Where would you say that is?
To where you're at, where is that cloud there located? Where would you say that is?
So this storm, this storm's probably just about 10 miles off to my west at this time, and it's moving kind of that east-southeast roughly. So we're in position to kind of watch the shelf cloud as it passes over us. And like I said, we're sitting in between Kroll and Benjamin, about 20-ish miles, maybe like 15 to 20 miles north of Benjamin at this time on highway. Oh, what highway is this? Good question here. Highway 6. On Highway 6 again.
So for our viewers at home,
I'm going to walk Kroll and Benjamin at this time.
So for our viewers at home, I'm going to walk over here to the wall so you can see this here. For our viewers at home, if you know, this is a classic. This is a supercell thunderstorm, okay? But you know, you've got upper level winds here that allow this to organize, the updraft to organize, and it's pulling in all that tape, all that instability, pulling it up here. And you've got enough spin all the way down to the cloud here to allow this thing to spin, but you don't have a lot of spin from here to here, and that's what keeps it from producing a tornado. But you do get these shelf cloud looking things here, a lot of warm moist air, and that's what's showing there. And if you look right in here, this is going to be, there's your updraft right there, and here is going to be your hail core. Look at that little that turquoise color. That indicates big hail right there, probably falling right down in the middle of the mesocyclone itself. Big hail. And there's probably some strong winds coming in right behind this cloud. And as that comes out, this will be kicking out that hail, blowing that hail out of the thunderstorms. Wind-driven hail. That is enough to create some big-time problems over there in parts of Ford and Knox County. So we live in Gillian, Benjamin, Knox City. We'll say Kroll as well. Just keep an eye on this. And then if the storm winds up pushing a little bit more left than right, we could wind up starting to see some Boeing segments over here across more parts of northwest Texas. So we'll have to watch Throckmorton and maybe southern parts of Baylor County. Maybe eventually the Graham area as well, maybe Archer City. We'll keep an eye on that. That's a beautiful thunderstorm cloud for sure. And you can see some recent rainfall. That's showing strong winds. The air is sinking out of the clouds. When it hits the ground, it spreads out like that. So you can see it. You can see it spreading out there. Look at the hail falling out. You can see it there. You see that little white, that light color is? That's the heavy rain hail falling out. So there is your updraft is right in there. This is your collar cloud, I guess you could call it, maybe a shelf, or there could be a little bit of a wall cloud in there, but it mostly looks like a shelf cloud to me. And just a beautiful storm. And you've got some little twirls, little areas of rising motion underneath this thunderstorm. And when you have that, you get that moist air that kind of gets lifted up into the updraft. That's what we call scud clouds, or nothing to be concerned with. And again, this storm, while it does have some spin to it, there's nothing tornadic with it right now. Nothing that looks tornadic. And like I say, with that spin from here to here, it's difficult to get tornadoes unless it can have some type of an interaction with some type of a boundary that can help to twist that air or spin that air down below it here. But what a beautiful storm that is that Weatherman Cam is on. This is over there in the western parts of Ford and Knox County here. And
that is kind of where it is. But what a beautiful, beautiful shot that Weatherman Cam has of that storm there. Nasty, neat looking thunderstorm. And now we got a tornado warning for it. So, Jacob, we need to go on there with this here. Go on News Channel 6 with the tornado warning now for Knox and Baylor and parts of Ford County. Tornado warning here now, too, issued by the Weather Service. And I do see rotation, but this rotation is going to be embedded within the probably rain wrapped. So one thing that we do see is the storm is starting to bow out now some. So
The
you
one thing
might
that we
be
do
starting to
see
see it
is the
move a
storm is
little
starting
bit
to
more
bow out now
east than
some.
south. But
So you
it was
might
moving
be
almost due
starting to
south.
see
Now
it
it's
move a
moving kind of
little bit
east
more east
southeast.
than south.
And there's
It was
also
moving
a bit
almost
of
due
an
south. Now it's moving
outflow
kind of
boundary
east
coming in from the
southeast.
north too.
And there's
And as that
also
outflow
a bit of
boundary
an
interacts with it, there's
outflow
another boundary
boundary
to the
coming in from
south.
the
So it's
north
got
too.
some
And as
boundaries it's
that outflow
interacting with
boundary
now.
interacts with it,
So as
there's
that
another boundary to the
happens,
south.
you
So
know, these
it's got
things can
some
start to
boundaries it's
spin, and there could be
interacting with
some pretty
now.
big wind
So as that
gusts in addition
happens,
to
you know,
spin up
these things can
tornado
start to
across.
spin, and there could be some pretty
Yeah,
big
I'm ready.
wind gusts in addition to
So we're
spin
going
up
to go on air
tornado
with this. So give
across.
me just a second, folks.
Yeah, I'm ready. So we're going to go on air with this. So give me just a second, folks.
All right, so we are now.
All right, so we are now on with a tornado warning here. That sorry for those folks who were on Facebook Live that heard it echo. I forgot to mute my other mic, so we're good now though there. So if you take a look here at the radar, we have a tornado warning now in effect for southern parts of Ford County and northern parts of Knox County, and this does go over into extreme western parts of Baylor County. Now, this storm has had a long history of producing a lot of hail and wind-driven hail. This is a big storm, a dangerous thunderstorm that's producing a lot of strong winds. Now, earlier this storm was moving almost due south. Now it's moving more kind of east-southeast here. Kyrie, could you tell them to turn that off in the lobby there? Thank you. So, and there's also there's a couple of boundaries that's in the area. You got one that's located from about Graham north to about just south of Seymour. And that's what this storm is riding along. And you got another outflow boundary coming in from the north that could also help it spin a bit here as well. So in addition to a possible tornado, wind-driven hail is going to be a big problem across southern parts of Ford and northern parts of Knox County. I'm going to Weatherman Cam. He's all over this storm. Weatherman Cam, we're on live right now on all of our platforms. What are you seeing with this thunderstorm? That's been a beautiful storm. Tell our audience what you're seeing.
All right, Ken, so we are sitting right in between Crowell and Benjamin, literally just about smack dab in the middle between Crowell and Benjamin at this time on Highway 6. And this storm, you're looking at the currently taking a look out of our dash cam at this time. What you're seeing coming overhead at this time is the shelf cloud. Most of this storm has been a shelf cloud, but we were talking about it on Facebook and elsewhere that we did see a wall cloud coming together on this. We have seen rising motion. You actually see some right there in the kind of the right half of your screen. You got some more rising motion coming out ahead of it. But the big story at this storm at this time is the big time wind, the big time hail coming over this area, and this is again going to pass over Highway 6 here very shortly. And here in the tracker, we do have the tracker kind of rocking back and forth at this time. I mean, this thing is absolutely kicking out some serious rain, some serious wind, and some serious hail as well. So this shelf cloud passing over us at this time, we're going to keep an eye on it. We did see that wall cloud again earlier, but however, given my current position, I can't get any eyes on that wall cloud this time. But I still think the main factor for the storm is going to be the rough winds and the wind-driven hail as well.
So, yeah, that does look like a definite shelf cloud, but there also could be some rotation within that, too. Look at all this. You've got a boundary. Here's something interesting that's happening. You can almost see the circulation on reflectivity. There's a couple boundaries in that area here, and this is one of those developing MCVs. This is very similar to what happened in the Crowell area back in April when there was the Seymour area back in April when there was a boundary and that thunderstorm was riding right along it. You've got this big swirl. And that's going to cause this to move more east than southeast now. So this is going to be moving more east than southeast. We got a couple outflow boundaries in the area at play as well. So I'm going to walk over to the wall real fast. So this is the area that I'm going to stop this from spinning. There's a couple areas. This is a dangerous thunderstorm that's coming together. And that outflow boundary here is also kind of changing the game a bit as well. Now, you can see the line. That's your outflow boundary. There's two of them I'm watching. There's a stall one, a stationary one down here that it's along from about just Seymour up to about Truscott. And then there's another one of these rain-cool boundaries that's dropping to the south here, and that's going to intersect. And as it does so, this twist is going to help ingest into that thunderstorm, and that's going to help the storm spin more. But you can see a bit of a counterclockwise circulation. You got an area of low pressure wrapped in rain. You can see it over here on the corner of your screen. It's right in this area here. It's wrapped in rain. There's a huge hail core underneath this. You got hail being spit out on the south side of it. You got hail wrapping around on the north and west side of it as well. And then you got the spin, and that spin is going to produce some really big winds out here in the Truscott area. And what I think is going to happen is, when you get this storm spin, it's going to cause this to bow out and move more across the eastern parts of Knox and Ford County, and then eventually over here into Baylor County. So Seymour, we got to watch you now. Area south of Vernon, but it's down here across Baylor, Knox, Ford County, and eventually maybe even Archer and Young County. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But you can see the shelf cloud over here on the corner of your screen with Weatherman Cam's view there. But that is a really significant thunderstorm where you see that silverish color. That's the big hail. And this storm is really spinning a lot. And as you have this outflow boundary that drops in on it, it could even become more. So here's Weatherman Cam. Weatherman Cam, are you underneath that storm now?
Yeah, I'm underneath this. Gosh, can you hear my mic? Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm underneath the storm. What I'm doing here, I'm setting the cameras or readjusting the cameras at this time because what I had to do was I wanted to position myself so I had the tracker pointing directly into the storm rather than taking the winds the broadside rather than having a direct crosswind. So I had the tracker pointing directly into the storm to prevent this thing, trying to, I don't say uplift the tracker, but just to kind of prevent any type of, serious situation like that. But there's the leading edge of your shelf cloud. We're in between Benjamin and Kroll at this time. This thing, I can see the rain curtain dead ahead of me. This thing is absolutely about to come at me here. I don't know if you can see it there, how well it's going to pick up on the camera. This thing is about to absolutely come at me and wall up the tracker here shortly. So got about, I don't even know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes before we're really in the storm with the hail and the wind, of course. So gonna watch this thing come across. It's gonna be pretty nasty. I saw the wall cloud earlier, but where we're at in terms of positioning, we're just gonna be dealing with the heavy rain, the strong winds, and of course the hail as well.
The sky is so green where you are. What position, where exactly are you in regards to this? That's a green sky in front of you. Where are you at right now?
Okay, if you're looking at the radar, the best way to put where we're at is we're kind of in the right along where you see the hail core and it starts to branch into the southern tail. That's where we're at right now. Given the way this thing has been moving, we're kind of this thing's coming at us about with a what's looked to be an east-southeast motion. So the hail core looks like it's going to pass either just over me or just a hair to the north. But regardless, I do expect to see some hail here. And the tracker, again, pointing directly into the storm this time because I didn't want the winds to come at me from the crosswind. So about to get pretty hairy here in a matter of just a couple of minutes. And actually, you know what, Ken? The latest scan, it's kind of pivoted a little bit now to the hail size might have come down some as well as the position. I'm in great position on the hail core. So hail core is going to come right at me here in the next few minutes. But, looks like the intensity overall on the DBZs has come down some.
When those DBZs come down, Cameron's when it's dropping its hail core, and I don't know if you could hear me or not, but a second ago that was a pretty low-hanging cloud in front of you. I couldn't tell if that was a tornado in front of you or if that was just some maybe a scud cloud or something. But that looks like some nasty weather moving in. What would you estimate? How strong would you estimate the winds are where you're at?
I can see a stop sign. I might be able to turn this camera here around. Give me a second. Let me get you another shot to work with. So unfortunately, it's going to have a lot of raindrops. There's a stop sign right in front of me at this time. Not really moving too much, but that's going to be our best telltale of these winds. Obviously, you got some trees off to the side as well. Not really getting going quiet yet with the winds, but it's really picking up pretty quickly. But nothing too serious at this time when it comes to winds. So I think we still have some time to go before it really gets nasty. About a couple minutes, but nothing significant where I'm at right now.
All right, so the Weather Service says a new severe thunderstorm warning coming out for that for 80-mile-per-hour winds there, so destructive tag on that. So so just keep an eye on that. But where you're at, though, Cameron, it looks like just a lot of some good rain, maybe some gusty. It doesn't look too bad. Are you underneath the mesocyclone, or where are you?
Yeah, we're underneath the mesocyclone. So we watched the shelf cloud pass directly overhead. So we watched the shelf cloud go directly over the tracker, and now we're inside the storm itself. So basically, we're sitting inside the core of the storm right now, and starting to hear some hail mixing. Doesn't sound overly big this time. It does sound pretty, sound pretty small right now. But I do expect this to increase within the next few minutes.
Beat up though, but yeah, I think at least judging on radar, I think you're okay. But I mean, from that vantage point there, the winds don't even look that significant.
The winds aren't that bad here, but we're starting to hear the hail pick up now too. Again, it still sounds small. I'm trying to see if I can see any hitting the ground. Don't see any right now. Pea size coming down right now. So nothing overly big when it comes to. Oh, here comes the hail. You can probably hear it through the microphone. It's coming down pretty good now. Still small. Let's see here. You can see the winds. Here come the winds, Ken. There you go. You actually see some of the hail mixing on the tracker camera as well. Still looks to be just pea size, nothing drastically large at this time. we're only on the leading edge of the hail core right now, and these winds are kicking right now. Still nothing in terms impressive in terms of the winds. Still gusting upwards. I don't know. I want to say maybe 40, probably get up to 50 miles per hour at this time. That stop sign's starting to get some movement to it as well. And you can really hear the hail coming down. I'm sure you can probably hear it in the studio on my microphone right now, the hail coming down here.
Well, it's small, though. It doesn't look like it's very big, so.
No, it's definitely small. Like I said, I've only seen about pea-sized hail. I haven't seen anything drastically large. I was thinking maybe we could at least see some ping pong, if not bigger, but that does not look to be the case at this time. But the winds are really kicking up now, coming directly at the track, coming out of the due west. And it sounds like the hail intensity has also dropped off too. I mean, this rain's come down in sheets of rain right now is what this is. So blinding rain conditions, and the hail has dropped off as well, but it does look like on radar as well, the DBZs are still also beginning to come down as well.
We'll jump off there. Reposition yourself, Cam, and get into, till we can watch the storm. But if you look again, we got this tornado warning. The storm, it looks like let's kind of look at everything and how it's all going. There's a confirmed tornado over there east of Sherman, Texas. Just so many storms out here this afternoon and this evening. You got storms northwest of Oklahoma City. You got them east of Amarillo. And then there is your area there of storms that are trying to get going. We were talking, I've been talking a good bit this afternoon, and a lot of this before we kind of got into the event, that we thought that the shower activity we saw earlier today could play a role in maybe limiting some of the storm energy kind of right there along the Red River. And then there's a rain-cool boundary. And as that drops through, the air north of it becomes cooler. These thunderstorms, in order for them to maintain themselves, have to have a way to ingest really warm, humid air. So as this outflow boundary drops to the south, I mean, there's going to be some storms. It's filling in up here. But we may see it maybe begin to lessen some of the wind threat there along either side of the Red River. So it's not as much instability or energy in the atmosphere from Lawton down to Wichita Falls and over to Vernon. Now, there's your main storm area. You've got it kind of bowing out here from parts of Ford County down into northern Knox County, and then it kind of goes back to the west over here towards Guthrie, and then kind of down to the south. You got another tornado warning there southeast of Jayton. So you're getting a bit of a solid line kind of in this area, but that's the storm on the leading edge. And as this outflow boundary drops in, it's going to really help. I think it's going to really help to cause that storm to spin up a bit here too. Could create a bit of an increase in the thunderstorm activity down here. And I think it's going to cause the storm perhaps maybe to turn a little bit more to the east, and we could wind up getting some of those winds over into Seymour. But as you can see from Cameron's tracker here, the winds really are not that bad in this. So we've been pretty fortunate. There's still that tornado warning that comes and butts up right up against Seymour. You got the severe thunderstorm warning that covers a very small sliver of Wilbarger County over to Seymour in Baylor County, and then back towards Knox City. And also, I want to let people know, people asking about the basketball game over on social media. We do not. This is CBS. We do not have the NBA Finals. That's ABC. So we're not covering up a basketball game here tonight. That's our sister station up there in Lawton. But if you look here on radar, it's got a real good heavy rain look. But as you heard Cameron say earlier, the DBZs, the decibels, and those of you that are familiar with music would understand this in audio. Sound is based upon something called DBZs or decibels. And radar is listening for pings in the atmosphere. And whenever it hits those pings, it makes louder noises, so the decibel levels go up. And that's what you see when you see hail cores. It still looks to me like there might be an updraft there just kind of west-northwest of Gillian, but nothing too major. And if you put this in motion, you don't even see any major rotation. There might be a little bit of rotation actually showing up to the south of Kroll now. And when you get these big, gigantic supercells like this interacting with these boundaries, oftentimes things kind of change, and they can kind of change the way their appearance looks and whatnot here. So that's kind of what we're seeing. A little bit of rotation south of Kroll, maybe a little bit north of Gillian, but right now the rotation doesn't look all that major. Maybe a little weak rotation over Ford Center. And from there, we'll have to see how it all behaves. But the storm itself looks like the northern part of that storm has weakened a little bit. And that may be because there's just a little bit less instability over in some of these areas. But we'll just have to see. A lot of times these things reorganize. This area down here hasn't seen as much thunderstorm activity and shower activity today. So, there's still a chance that there could be plenty of warm, moist air feeding into it in that direction. So here's Cameron's feed. Cameron, you got a pretty green sky there. A lot of heavy rain, but so far you hadn't seen a lot in the way of hail or real strong winds yet, right?
No, you know, the camera showing green. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Oh man, we're getting down to a hail now. About pea-sized hail coming down again because we had a reposition again on the southern side of the storm again, so we have to punch right through this. I know the camera shows the green. That's not the case for my eyes. It's a bit more of that grayish tint right now. I think it's just some off coloring with the camera right now. It's a bit deceiving this time. But heavy rain, strong winds, nothing really all that bad right now. That's probably the best way to put it from my angle, is that none of this seems overly rough right now. Obviously we're mixing with some hail this time, gusty, blinding, and all that, but you know, with speed limit here 75, I'm still able to go speed limit, so that's pretty telling of, you know, how, I would say rough this storm is, but you know, still able to move pretty well with this storm. But you know, we saw those winds come at us out of the due west, and we same thing, saw ping pong size hail mixing in at times, but nothing overly glaring. Had some gusty winds, maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour, but nothing really got us too hard when we were out there pulled off to the side. But I'm sitting about 10 miles north of Benjamin. What I'm doing, I have to drop south and go towards the Benjamin area. So that's what my play is right now. I'm going to go towards Benjamin. At that point, probably work on an eastward trajectory, maybe towards the Seymour area out of Benjamin. And just kind of keep an eye on this thing. We're past the core. At most, from my end, I've only seen ping pong size hail mixing up this storm right now. So nothing major at this time. Still definitely a nasty storm, but nothing overly concerning. Probably the best phrase I could use right now.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Cameron. We're going to continue to keep an eye on that. So I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a forecast here quickly because, you know, a lot of people are freaking out about this event, and, you know, and for good reason. The potential is certainly there, but, you know, it's like I was telling people earlier today, we've seen these events before, and it's nothing to freak out about. It does look like the hail cores have really increased there near Gillian across the northern parts of Baylor County there. Just north of Benjamin there in Knox County, some pretty good hail showing up there near Gillian and just north of Benjamin, kind of in the area where Cameron's at. But he's doing a pretty good job of avoiding the hail there. You can see it kind of extends back to the west, and all this stuff is starting to merge with the storms down to the south here. So, you know, what I expect to happen as we go into the next couple of hours, here's what we're going to watch happen. All right, we've got these storms down there that are going to kind of move into let me draw it a little bit differently here, okay? So we got these storms that are going to kind of go like this here. So you got, you know, Graham, you got Seymour, Throckmorton, Knox City, maybe Archer City. You know, those are the areas right now I'm most concerned with because these storms are moving east-southeast. Now, if they turn a little bit more to the east, we'll throw more of the northern parts of the area into the mix as well. There's no outflow boundary, rain-cooled air, and if you're getting some gusty winds where you're at in Wichita Falls now, it's because you got some gusty north winds coming in behind this outflow boundary. So. But that's where we see the bulk of the thunderstorm activity, at least with this complex. You've also got where I believe thunderstorms are going to increase some this evening, kind of over into this area as well. And then we got these storms back in here. But remember, we have a bit of a lag and a little bit of a lapse in instability in this area. So we'll have to wait and see what these storms do back here. The worst of it could wind up being in these two areas. And there may not be as much in between. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. All right, so I'm going to jump off of News Channel 6. We'll be on the app and on the web as well as Facebook Live for those of you that want to continue to watch this severe weather coverage this evening. If we need to come back on News Channel 6, we'll be sure to do so. Jump on there if we need to. So we're good for right now, though. The storm is actually weakened a bit. But, you know, it still could be some pretty good wind gusts. You can see that outflow. And a lot of showers and just non-severe storms developing north of that outflow boundary, too. Folks, this is really, you know, and I've talked about this several times today. I thought that those little early morning showers could chew up and gobble up the instability a bit. Now, you do got some pretty intense storms back here to the west of Childress. And that they may be slightly elevated, though. I don't know how strong those are up there. I mean, look at the winds. That's so far away from the radar, though, it's going to be hard to tell what the winds are like there. But still, your main concern would just be some gusty winds here. And if you look at it, this is out of Abilene. You know, you don't see a discernible, you know, couplet or any type of rotation there north of Knox City. Now, you do see some south of Jayton there, but you don't see anything there in the Knox City area. I just don't really see a lot of rotation in that parts of this storm. There's some little areas of weak spin, but nothing major here. You know, I really thought that this thing could become a MCV, and it still could. It could still, and I say MCV, mesoconvective vortex, but that's still a pretty dangerous cluster of thunderstorms there. And as it interacts with this outflow boundary coming in from the north here, it could enhance things a bit too. Now, also something else that can happen with this outflow boundary is if it makes it through the storm and it doesn't stall and it keeps moving south, it'll undercut it and it'll cut off the instability, to the south, and it'll cause it to either go elevated or weaken it here. So that's a possibility as well. It's just now beginning to interact with that little outflow boundary, that little spin there. So that could indeed play a role in it here. I'm going to go back to Cameron. Cameron, where are you at right now, and where are you going? It looks like you're in the middle of all that heavy rain now. How far are you from getting out ahead of it? Well, he can't hear me now, so I'm not sure exactly where he is, but he is in the middle of some very heavy rain there. So far, though, we haven't seen much in the way of big hail or big strong wind gusts with that, which is definitely some good news. We don't want that. It actually had really good appearance to it earlier, but it's kind of changed the shape some. You can still see heavy rain and a lot of hail near Gillian there, and kind of enclosing there on Highway 82 near Benjamin, Texas. And that's beginning to kind of bow out kind of to the southeast some. But the good news is it hasn't developed into the little spin that I thought it would. So it's not pushing it any further east. It's still moving kind of southeast, maybe a little bit east of southeast there, but it could be trying to reorganize a bit. So that's always a possibility here with this and here comes the outflow boundary coming in from the north. Yeah, I hate it when we get into these dead spots down here. It's so hard to see what's going on with the storm. Looks like there's some pretty strong wind gusts now picking up there near Benjamin with the storm. Looks like some really strong winds, actually. You got what's called a rear inflow jet coming in on the back side of that. It's going to push those winds out. So strong winds increasing in Benjamin now. And then we look over towards Seymour. And, that big thunderstorm is moving south. I still think that Seymour is going to get clipped by this. You're going to get clipped by the northern flank of this thunderstorm. You might see some wind-driven hail there. We'll just have to kind of wait and see what the behavior is of it. You do got a little bit of a push to the east from the storms on the backside here. So, it's still looking possible. It really depends on how this outflow boundary interacts with everything. Still looks possible that this area here is going to see, an increase in the worst part of the weather. These are increasing up here too, but they're kind of behind the rain-cooled outflow boundary, so I'm not sure how strong those are. Again, there remains this signal for a bit of a weakness in this area here. I do expect things to pick up over in this area too, maybe. Cameron, can you hear me now, or are you still not where you can hear me?
Nope, I hear you now.
It's got a pretty good look to it here, but it's kind of stretched out a bit. Kind of extends over there to the east of Seymour. Pretty good winds coming into Benjamin. Where are you at right now in regards to all of that?
I'm sitting 6 miles north of Benjamin right now, and I would be a little bit quicker, but there's I want to say a bit of traffic. You can't see it here on our dash cam, but there's a good number of people ahead of me who are driving with their flashes on, so they're I'll say taking their time. I don't blame them, but they're keeping us a little bit slower at this time. But I'm only GPS has us there in 5 minutes in Benjamin. So once I hit Benjamin, I'll go east out of Benjamin towards the Seymour area and try to keep an eye on this core as it continues to come across as well. But honestly, Ken, the core was not overly impressive. Obviously, it's a chance some other spots got it worse than others. But where we were, I took a good bit of that hail core. And the biggest hail I saw at the time was pea-sized hail, and the winds, maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour, but nothing that was overly concerning with it either. So I'm not saying it's not still a dangerous storm, but where we were, nothing was overly overwhelming when it came to severe weather, which is great news, of course. But we're going to get towards Benjamin in the next, let's see, that's now 5 miles north of Benjamin. We'll get to Benjamin, go off to the east a little bit, and then reposition again to be right along with the storm as well as the core does come across once again.
All right, I'm going to go back to radar here, and got a lot of drawing on here that done, so I need to take this off here. So, things are looking better, at least for right now, in the Wichita Falls area. My son asked me earlier if he needed to, find another place to go. He lives in a 2-story apartment. He's on the 2nd floor there. I asked him if he needed to, go to another place. I said, no, I think you'll be fine right where you are. So that advice is good. These are still some pretty dangerous storms down here in Knox County. They're going to pass, at least for right now, looks like this cluster of storms will stay south and southwest of Wichita Falls. But the direction it's moving, you can kind of draw a bit of the northern edge kind of like this. So, Archer City could see some of it. Graham maybe eventually here. Seymour definitely going to get in some of this rain. And it looks like a lot of it is smaller hail. But there could be some pretty strong wind gusts in that too. You got to remember down here, there hasn't been as much in the way of shower activity and there's still quite a bit of instability down that way, so they've still got plenty of energy to feed off of. So that's what we're watching. And there's your outflow boundary. And again, you can see the little snaky looking cloud there. And this little cloud is coming through like Wichita Falls. Actually, it's now through Wichita Falls and has moved down along the border. It's coming through the Holiday area and down towards Lakeside City. So there's your little outflow boundary dropping to the south here. And north of it, your air is going to be a bit cooler. So you're seeing some showers and rumbles of thunder. I think they're going to be a little elevated. And by elevated, that's just what I mean. They're based up higher in the sky, and they're usually not nearly as intense. Now, as this drops to the south here, it is beginning to interact with this bigger thunderstorm cluster down to the south, and it'll be interesting to see how it behaves. Outflow boundaries, they produce, and sometimes you can see them. It's what we call a roll cloud, and that cloud rolls a bit. The winds along it cause it to spin like this, and if a supercell can interact with it, and that's kind of a bit of a supercell, kind of a storm cluster, but if it can interact with that horizontal roll, it might be able to ingest that. Maybe, I'm thinking out loud here, it might be able to ingest that a bit and may cause that roll to become more vertically stacked and may allow it to spin a little bit more. And it's either going to cause the storm to ride along it to the south, or it could wind up causing the outflow boundary to stall and maybe even shift to the east and even lift back north a bit. We'll just have to wait and see how it all interacts here. Right now, though, mostly small hail with this thunderstorm just north of Benjamin. There's some gusty winds in that. That is south of Kroll. Kroll, you're good for now. Into Vernon, there's some showers and some rumbles of thunder, but this is not a severe thunderstorm rolling into your area here at this point in time. And look at this. You've also got a bit on this outflow boundary. You've also got a bit of an increase in thunderstorms over into Jefferson County. So you're seeing some pretty good rumbles of thunder up near Waurika, which then that's probably a bit of an increase. And our weather information, our models have really shown that there's going to be two areas to watch here. Over the afternoon, it's kind of evolved here. Two areas to watch here. Would kind of be over into here, and then another area would be with this area of supercells moving to the south here. And then it kind of indicates tonight that there would be kind of a bit of a good consolidation of everything kind of over down in here, the Metroplex here. But we do got storms that have increased now to the northwest of Vernon, but you've got so many showers and thunderstorms. And in my opinion, when you get a big severe weather event, you don't have all this shower and thunderstorm activity. You've got either on the leading edge of all this, you'll have that heavy thunderstorm activity, or you won't have it at all. So it's to me, this just does not look like an ideal situation for high-end severe weather stuff. It really just doesn't. But these storms down to the southwest are still pretty intense. But I think, in my opinion, we've seen storms that are far more intense than these, this spring and early summer season now. It's very difficult to see what the winds look like in these storms based upon the radar, the location of them. It's really too far away from the Frederick radar site to really see, but it's definitely too far away from the Abilene site to really be able to see, and it's too far from Lubbock to be able to see. I can see that there's definitely some type of spin in there, but how good the spin is very difficult to say. It looks like you've got some pretty good winds blowing out from the thunderstorm near the Benjamin area, and there could be a little bit of rotation back in there just southeast of Benjamin, but again, it's very difficult to say. Here comes your outflow boundary, and again, you're going to get some gusty winds out of the north out of that, but that's not the 120 mile per hour winds everybody's been talking about. And that's beginning to interact with that cluster of storms down that way now. But it just has this big blob look to it. It doesn't really have a discernible, supercell or bow echo look to it. Not yet. It could. It still could. But it doesn't have it yet. You do see a little bit of expansion on the north side of that too. And as it interacts with that outflow boundary, it could change the game a bit. So if I can stop this here, what you may wind up seeing is, oh man, I'm sorry folks, I accidentally shut my show down. Didn't mean to do that. Give me a second, it'll pop back up. So what you may wind up seeing here is, and again, since you're not a supercell, your hail's not nearly as large as it was. But you could wind up, especially with this outflow boundary interacting with it, you could wind up seeing some bow echo type winds into this area here kind of in that area, and it could be, could see some pretty big winds down into parts of Baylor, southeastern Knox, maybe Thornton, door to Throckmorton County, pretty rural areas down that way. And if we do see a bit of a meso low develop in there near Benjamin, then it could change the game. And if that were to happen, then you're going to wind up seeing the storm take shape and probably become more of a bow echo and move more east. And if that were to happen, you might see the northern side kind of go up through here. Maybe. We'll just have to see what all takes place with the thunderstorm. But at this point in time, it's just kind of a wait and see type of situation. That's what it basically is. I can enhance it, and you can see the outflow boundary there. Just now coming into the northern side, and that's probably why you've seen a little bit of a different shape to the northern side of that thunderstorm, I would think. But this is dropping south, and again, on the north side of Wichita Falls, north of it is probably some north winds now, a little bit cooler outside, still humid, but a little bit cooler. And you're not seeing on these showers are north of the outflow boundary. They're elevated, they're nothing major. But then you get back off into this direction. There are some thunderstorms here. They're mostly hail and heavy rain producers, though. Your best bet for, these big wind producers are going to be with these supercells moving across the southwestern parts of the area here. I do think that they're going to, in time, these storms are going to move a little bit more east-southeast. So I'm not taking Wichita Falls out of the danger zone at all. But there's your outflow boundary. It's interacting with the north. You can see it's you can see the storm kind of increased a bit after that outflow boundary hit it. And again, it kind of acts like a little front, and it can actually lift the air up some, and it may lift it up a little bit more underneath the thunderstorm. There's also a storm on the back side of this. It's moving more east, and that too could give it a nudge. So I would think that eventually this will become a bow echo somewhere, and by bow echo, the storm bows out. The winds bow it out here, or push it out, and that's when you see your really strong wind gusts. So they may not be there yet, but it could get that way over here into Baylor, and maybe Throckmorton County, and maybe over here into Archer and Young County over the next several hours. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But as it moves to the south, it just depends on how it interacts with the outflow boundary. It looks to me like the worst of that wind is going to slide southwest of Wichita Falls. Seymour, Throckmorton, Archer City, Olney, Graham, those are the areas that we're watching. And we're also watching a thunderstorm that's developed up here near Waurika. So those are the spots we're watching. Vernon, I know we got people that are worried about what's going on in Vernon. Vernon, nothing. That is nothing right there. Just a little shower, a little rumble or two of thunder, but that is not severe. And there's your latest radar update. Still has some mostly small hail in this cluster of thunderstorms here, but it is not like it was. I'm going to go back to the tracker here because it looks like Cameron's about to get out of a lot of that heavy rainfall, and let's see what Cameron says about the way things are looking with it and where he's at this point in time. Where are you at right now, Cameron?
I'm on Highway 82. I pulled out of Benjamin about a couple miles ago, so I'm going towards the Seymour area, and for me driving this personally, it's a little bit of a rough go. You got plenty of cloud to ground lightning associated with the storm, of course, and you also have some pretty gusty winds as well. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm working to get out of the edge of the storm. We're kind of we're pulling away from the storm slowly but surely, but we're going towards the Seymour area, and we've got really gusty winds. I mean, I'm fighting a direct crosswind coming out of the track because the winds, coming out of the storm are coming out of the due north. So they're coming, out of the north to south. And with me going off to the east, these are a direct crosswind this time. So in terms of gusts, I might be getting gusts up to 60, maybe 70 miles per hour at times. So because of that, it does make the driving a little bit harder. But I mean, we're keeping pretty good speed on this storm. Just keeping two hands on the wheel and, paying close attention because, also just again, the direct crosswinds does make it a bit more difficult. Haven't really seen much in terms of hail. I think the big thing at this storm, this current time, is just going to be the strong winds are coming down probably about 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, I would say. And that's going on the southeastern edge of that storm along Highway 82 right now. So we're almost due south of where your highest DVZs are to give you a better idea of where I'm at position-wise. But just again, the big story for me, personally, is just going to be the really strong winds that are associated with the storm at the time.
See the green sky there, kind of just north of the highway there. Probably small hail, though I don't see big hail in it right now. Probably mostly small hail, and there are some pretty strong wind gusts, maybe somewhere in that. So we'll keep an eye on that, and a lot of cloud to ground lightning with that too. So we'll continue to check in with Cam off and on here. There's your radar. There's your outflow boundary beginning to interact with it now, and it is changing the shape of it a little bit on the north side. You can almost see that now that it's interacting, you can almost see that north side is kind of pointing out a bit here. It may be causing it to spin a little bit. The hail size just doesn't look very big in it here, but it does look like this storm is increasing in size here. And it covers most of Knox County now and goes up into southern parts of Ford County. New warning's been issued down to the south there for Haskell and Throckmorton County. But it looks to me like this storm, now that's interacting with that boundary, is kind of maybe building a little bit east along it. Maybe build a little east along it. So don't be surprised if we see this storm move right over into Seymour and Archer City. And if it moves right along that boundary, it could, and especially if that boundary stops, if it causes the boundary to stop, it could really wind up doing some nasty things along that. But and like I said before, that's rain-cooled air. If the boundary doesn't stop and it just continues to slide right through it, it'll undercut the moist air. It's getting fed by this real humid air out into here. That's where it's getting fed from. So if you get an outflow boundary that drops south of that, then all of a sudden you don't have access to this anymore, and it's not getting fed by that. So it doesn't completely weaken it, but it can really limit its severe threats there pretty good here. So looks like Weatherman Cam is thriving through some pretty good rain right now. Any hail in that now, Cameron?
No, I'm not getting any hail. It's just still some really blinding rain. I mean, this thing is absolutely treacherous to drive in right now. I mean, you can barely. Maybe hearing some hail makes sometimes. I mean, you can barely see the road right now. This thing is really rough to drive in. The hail really going up. Got a police car ahead of me. I don't know if they're just using the flashers, kind of like drawing attention, but just to say, hey, I'm on the way, or just to see. But this thing is very, very rough right now, Ken. With the rain, the winds. I said the winds are probably gusting up to 60, 70 miles per hour out of the due north at this time. With that being said, for me personally, the driving conditions are very rough because of it. So we're still keeping our headway towards Seymour area. I'm trying to keep up to speed, but it does get difficult at times just with the direct crosswind. But we're outpacing the storm, which is good. My goal here is to get ahead of the storm, and now just got to be a little careful and keep two hands on the wheels. Man, this crosswind is absolutely ripping at the tractor right now. This thing is really gnarly with the wind. This thing is really rough with the winds.
Winds are, Cameron.
I am, oh wow, check that lightning. I'm on Highway 82. Looks like I actually might be getting out of the stronger stuff at this time, but I'm on Highway 82. I'm 20 miles outside of Seymour at this time. So I came out of Benjamin, off from the 82. Now I'm making my way towards the Seymour area because I'm watching too. Golly, man, these are rough. What I'm watching for as well is how does that boundary interact with the storm? Is it gonna elevate it? Is it not elevate it, but is it going to boost it? Is it maybe going to try and maybe give it some more spin depending on how far south that boundary goes? If it stops somewhere, like you've been saying all for the past little bit of time now. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on as well. But 20 miles west of Seymour, I tell you, dude, I mean, I know I'm a broken wreck right now, but these winds are very, very rough. Probably seeing wind gusts of about 60, 70, if not stronger at times with the storm.
It's with you driving and all, which I know you have to drive to reposition yourself. It's hard to see, but it looks like you're about to run right into the middle of the updraft. I can see those winds really, really pushing. Look at the rain foot in the thunderstorm. You can almost, Cameron's about to drive right into the middle of it. You can see a rain foot here. This is where that strong wind gust is. It's right over in there. That's the strong winds blowing that rain out there. This is the middle of the updraft. A lot of cloud to ground lightning in this area here. Cameron's about to drive right in the middle of it. A lot of heavy rain. If there's any hail, it'll be right in here, but it looks like the hail's mostly small. Cameron, are you seeing any little small dings of hail in here anywhere?
I still haven't, there might be an isolated small hail, might be an isolated small pea size hail mixing in, but I haven't really heard consistent hail or anything major in terms of the hail. There might be just the isolated hail mixing in, but I think it's still mostly just a heavy rain producer on my end.
All right, yeah, a lot of heavy rain coming out of that here too, but a lot of cloud to ground lightning strikes. And when you see the energetic atmosphere, that's what it's going to do. It's going to produce a whole lot of lightning, and you definitely see a lot of cloud to ground lightning with this. And even in front of Cameron, you can see a lot of low hanging clouds. I believe that's going to be shelf cloud stuff, right, Cameron?
I personally can't tell you just with how heavy the rain is. I personally can't tell. The camera might be able to pick it up better than I can with the filtering on it. I can kind of see out of the corner of my eye, but I can't personally tell on my end if that's shelf cloud or not from where I'm at.
Just keep on driving safe, and we'll check back in here in a minute. But again, there's the radar with the storms there. There's your outflow boundary. I'm monitoring it. It continues to slide south. I can see a bit of I'm starting to begin to see a little bit of a northern, you're seeing the storm kind of stretch out a little bit more now. Now, you don't see near as much in the way of hail with this storm now than it was. Earlier, it was a big supercell. Now it's kind of become more of a storm cluster. And with that outflow boundary interacting with it, if the outflow boundary continues to drop south through it and cut right through it, then then it's going to be, then again, it's going to lessen some of the severe weather aspects of it. But it hasn't gotten to the updraft of it yet. And those updrafts, as they rotate and spin, they can cause that outflow boundary to stop. But that outflow boundary is about to come to Seymour, Archer City, coming up on Lake Kickapoo. North of it, rain-cooled air, showers, non-severe thunderstorms here. And at this point in time, I'm not ruling out some strong wind gusts in the falls, but I don't think the strong wind gusts are going to be that bad here. I'd be surprised. I'm not ruling it out, but at least right now, it looks like a lot of the worst of it may be south of us here and east of us. So we'll keep an eye, but that's not the case in Seymour right now. It's not the case in Knox City right now. That is still some very heavy rains moving on through. We can look at the velocities, and you definitely do see a spin, a pretty good spin, and it's now kind of over the southeastern side of Knox County, just southwest of Seymour. There's a bit of spin. And we'll walk over to the wall and kind of show you. It's really interesting because you can really see it on radar here. Look at the outflow boundary. You can see the line. You can see it's there north of Archer City. It arches back up a bit, and then it kind of goes north of Seymour, and then boom, right there into the updraft of this thunderstorm. So it is ingesting that a little bit here. So right in this area, you've got some strong winds. The radar's up here. You got strong winds blowing out. And out ahead of it, you do got some circular motion. So you probably got a little bit of an area of low pressure that's developed back in this area. One of those little small, we call MCVs, mesoconvective vortex here. And it does cause it to spin, and it could cause the damaging wind threats to increase across parts of northern Throckmorton and maybe southern parts of Baylor County. And it also may cause this to maybe go a little bit more east than southeast. And if that were to happen, then you look at more of Baylor County and more of Throckmorton, more of Archer, more of Young County here too, being involved in that. So we're watching it. There's some little areas of weak spin in it. I don't see anything that's tornadic, but I definitely do see lots of areas in it that do have some pretty good wind gusts there. You can almost see, look at the counterclockwise circulation. You can see that now coming out of the southeastern parts. Down towards Monday, you can definitely see. Let me check back in with Cameron. Cameron, I do see a cyclonic spin with this here. The cyclonic spin is just southeastern parts of Knox County, about to head over into southwestern Baylor County.
Noted on that. I haven't looked at radar in a couple minutes. We've been working on getting out of it. We're actually pulling out of this storm. You can start to see some clearing in the sky, so we're getting on the outside of the storm, which is great news because those winds were treacherous. And I do believe that, talking about that updraft, all the lightning, all that, I do believe we are in what we call the bear's cage, where it does get a little hairy. You got the strong winds, of course, a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain, blinding rain. I still haven't seen any hail. I personally haven't seen any hail with the exception of when we were parked briefly, but I have not encountered any hail of the storm at this time. The strongest wind gusts I've seen, probably 60, 70, 80, maybe even up to 80 miles per hour times with the updraft. So still an gnarly storm, but Ken, that lightning is absolutely wicked to see. This is some insane cloud to ground lightning ongoing right now.
All right, so sirens are sounding in Monday here. I'm trying to look and see, but of course, like we know that that from past experiences that different towns and communities have different criteria for when they sound their sirens, and that would be in the Monday area. There's a bit of a circulation in that area, but it's a long way from the radar site, and I don't see anything in it that looks tornadic, but there's probably some pretty gusty winds down there and probably some pretty good downpours. But right along 82 where Cameron is kind of where it is. So if you kind of stop this for a minute, you probably have that little spin located right in there. So you've got some strong winds blowing out there. You may have a little bit of inflow coming in from this side there, and there's your updraft, and that will continue to may enhance the wind damage area just southeast of Seymour southeast. That's kind of what we're looking at. It's yet to kind of make an easterly turn. It looks like this is going to be mostly a southeasterly storm here. But things have changed a lot in terms of how things look here because of all the rain and thunderstorms here this afternoon. Now, I still think that this area of storms that's developed over towards Childress, your front's kind of back in here, I still think that that's going to roll down into this area here this evening. It can still produce a little hail and some gusty winds, but to me, the most dangerous part of this storm would be with these storms moving down here into Baylor and Knox and Throckmorton counties here. You know, that was kind of pegged by the computer models for several runs to be more widespread, and that's just, you know, as we got into the event from this morning into the afternoon, it became more and more apparent that this was going to be a situation where there might be a couple of different areas, and it may not be quite as widespread. Those showers that we had earlier in the day, I still believe that has played a huge role and limiting the instability up further to the north, which, you know, I'm not complaining. I'm certainly happy about that. So I was not looking forward to having more damaging winds up to the north here. But, you know, you still got this dangerous complex of storms that's dropping southeast. It is moving southeast here. It's not moving east. It's moving southeast. But I do expect Seymour to get in some heavy rain and some small hail maybe. But the strongest winds within this area is probably going to go just southeast of Seymour. You can see that spin. There is definitely a spin in it. Along, you know, the Baylor and Knox County line, they're right along 277. There is a bit of a spin down that way. Not a tornadic circulation, but there is a bit of a spin, probably enhancing the damaging wind threats there across southern parts of Baylor County. There's some little showers also developing out ahead of it here. So we kind of reset the situation. We've got multiple areas we're watching. This remains a pretty widespread severe weather event, but you got storms kind of over into this area. It's kind of developed along a little boundary over here. Then you got storms along the front itself. You know, this activity will eventually make its way south and southeast later on this evening. And it will pick up. The storminess will pick up across more of the area. I think you're going to see a bit of an increase in severe weather aspects over into here. That might include Bowie. It might include some of these areas. And you're going to continue to see a spread of severe weather over here. This would include like Baylor County, Knox County, Haskell, maybe Young County, those areas down towards PK. That's where we kind of we watch this activity for a bit of an increase there. And then later on tonight, this would probably, you know, come into the area as well here. So. But there's your thunderstorm here that's moving into Baylor County, and it's one of Weatherman Cam is on, and just a big cluster of thunderstorms with heavy rain and some mostly small hail. This is not, there's been some pretty strong wind gusts. Now Cameron says 70, 80 mile per hour winds have been pretty common, but fortunately, you know, this has been mostly over rural areas. And, you know, even though it's going to be impacting Monday and those areas over that way, Benjamin, it's actually kind of over Benjamin now. We'll watch the area into Baylor County and see what happens. It's going to be a close call for Seymour. Some downpours are developing into Seymour now, and the worst of the weather is right along Highway 82, just west of you. There's a bit of a spin, a bit of a circulation there. Your updraft is right there between 82 and Monday, moving east-southeast. There is a bit of an increase in some of the DBZs or hail levels there up north of Monday. You're beginning to see a bit of a storm form on the southern flank that's about to merge with those storms down to the south, and that'll continue. And you're eventually going to wind up seeing, here's what I think is going to eventually happen. You're eventually going to wind up seeing this, but it may not happen until it gets down to the south. Eventually, these are going to merge with these here, and you're going to wind up seeing some pretty strong winds probably develop later tonight into this area. You'll have these storms come in behind it, but, you know, they may be elevated. They may not produce big wind gusts. So I'm not going to complain about that. I'm going to look and see what the winds look like in those. They're a long way from the radar site, so you're going to be real hard to see. They don't look like anything major right now. We'll watch them, though, and see. Here's Cameron. Cameron, you pulled over the side of the road. Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I guess you're getting your camera shot. Here we go. Ready? Get ready to check this out, and there's your storm.
Shelf cloud.
Shelf cloud, you can still see some scud with it as well. Looking at radar, it does look like it's kind of starting to bow out a little bit, but maybe far south here, maybe you got a little bit of wall cloud trying to sitting out there as well. But it's definitely more of a shelf cloud feature at this time. You got plenty of rising motion moving into it as well. Plenty of cloud ground lightning, but that's about it right now. We're sitting, where are we at? We're about 10 miles outside of Seymour, so still in 82. And I'm gonna watch it because this boundary is, fixing to interact with it soon. So we're gonna have to wait and see how this boundary plays with this storm as well. But it's gonna be a matter of giving the storm motion. You got a lot of southeast motion with the storm right now. That boundary obviously coming in from the north. So what I'm kind of waiting to do here is I'm just going to keep going towards Seymour and just wait and see how this boundary is going to interact with it. But I do believe we're probably going to maybe drop a little bit further south out of Seymour, maybe go towards the Throckmorton area, just a little bit, not too far, just enough to kind of get back in position out ahead of the storm and keep an eye as it does pass over once again.
Viewer that reported some wind damage in Seymour. Said his mom lost a shed just now in Seymour. Said the storm is horrible there, which that's believable. But you look at that that's a big, beautiful shelf cloud there. A lot of cloud to ground lightning in it, and there are some lowerings in there. Possible you got a little bit of inflow in there that may be causing maybe a little bit of a wall cloud, but it looks to me like that's mostly pointing down out of the storm with those strong wind gusts. That's what it looks like it primarily is to me. But that is a really cool shot there Cameron has. You can see some really strong winds blowing out from it. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some gust nados along the leading edge of that too. But Cameron, looks like it's mostly just winds blowing kind of that falling air. Looks like mostly the shelf cloud, but maybe a wall cloud right there in the middle. Do you see that maybe?
Yeah, you have two areas of some lowering out of the shelf clouds. You have an area right here, right. That's much further south. So that looks like that'd be on the more of a southern tail of the storm. You have another area here, right there. That might be another wall cloud trying to come together as well. And that what looks like, based off where I'm at, looks like that might be on position of where the potential notch would be in it. Ken, you might even have a funnel cloud trying to come together because the camera's getting a little some raindrops on it. But you got some rising motion going right into it right now. And it does look pretty defined as well, so we'll keep an eye on this as well. This thing's trying to do something. Maybe it is a wall cloud. Maybe it has a funnel cloud trying to build out of it at this time.
Keep that zoom there, keep that picture, because I do see the lowering. Of course, it's real difficult to tell, because it's a lot of humid, hazy conditions out. But it looks to me like there's a definite lowering in that area, and you can almost see. I don't know if you can see it from your vantage point, but from my vantage point, it looks like there's some dust or something spinning underneath it. You can see a little bit of a darkness underneath there. It looks like there's some debris underneath there.
I see the dust. I don't know if I see the debris necessarily, but I do see the dust. I don't know if that's just going to be part of the rain that's associated with the storm, but you can see it here on the bottom. I'll tell you what, give me a second here. I'm going to wipe off this camera and see if we can get a better picture on this thing. But I do see, whether that be dust or heavy rain on the bottom of it, but it's just a matter of what is it exactly.
That is, Cameron.
All right, there we go. Oh man, this lightning is insane. But yeah, hopefully that cleared up a little bit. But you can still see, I think that is a wall cloud. It was better looking just about 2 or 3 minutes ago. You can see there, obviously the camera's mishandling this. Let me switch to the other one. Let me swing it around here just a second, Ken.
I'm reporting out to the Weather Service. What is that, Knox County, where you're at?
So I'm sitting in Baylor County, but I do believe this is going to be reaching into the portions of I think this is going to be for Baylor County, Ken. Based off where the position is, I'm sitting on 82 going towards Seymour, but I do believe this is going to be for the southern portions of Baylor County.
All right, I was just reporting that to the Weather Service so they can get the information there as well. So looks like whatever that is maybe kind of gone. We'll keep an eye on that there. But if you look there is definite rotation there. That's out of Abilene. You can definitely see the rotation there on the radar. Pretty good rotation there as well. Just southeast of Monday, right there along 277, kind of in the southeastern corner of Baylor and southeastern corner of Knox. And moving into southeastern, western parts of Baylor County, there's a little bit of spin there at this time. Now, up towards Seymour, there are some gusty winds in the area, but I don't see anything that's just that major. But you can see definitely some rotation moving kind of east-southeast into southeastern parts of Knox and southwestern parts of Baylor County there. There's some definite rotation in those spots there right now. And again, there's Weatherman Cam's a view of it. Of shelf / maybe wall cloud in there somewhere here. So I'm keeping an eye on that part of the thunderstorm in addition to that. But you do see a lot of heavy rain in there. Now in Seymour itself, you just got some downpours developing over you now. You're going to have the hail portion of the storm moving over Seymour here pretty soon.
as it moves in from the west. So most of that hail is small, pea size, but it's going to rain heavily. Now the storm itself is moving in two different directions here. You've got you got storms on the southern flank of that's kind of bowing out to the southeast, and you've got the storm on the north side of it moving more east. And you've also got behind the outflow boundary now, you've got some thunderstorms, non-severe thunderstorms that are developing across parts of North Texas. And again, those are not severe at this point in time. I think that the way the behavior is on everything here, your severe weather is going to be associated with this cluster here and this cluster here, and then they'll eventually kind of merge up somewhere. So I think that there could be maybe a bit of a lull in that area. You may not see as much severe weather in Lawton, Temple, Wichita Falls. Definite increase in showers and storms, but maybe not seeing the big wind threats that were looking inevitable maybe about 24 hours ago. So that's some good news there at this time here. The outflow boundary continues to snake southward. It's almost into Archer City. We got severe thunderstorm warnings now over into Jefferson County, heavy rainfall, and you got development now just behind that outflow boundary across more of Clay County and about to develop into Monte County. Heavy rain is the main concern in those areas. There are some areas of gusty winds showing up, pretty strong wind gusts now. Going to be developing over here towards Ryan and just south of Waurika, some really strong wind gusts in those areas here. And that could continue to increase a bit as it heads down into southern parts of Jefferson County and eventually into Monte County. So Nacona along the Red River, strong wind gusts with these developing storms could be headed in your direction. Here in Wichita Falls, again, just some showers and rumbles of thunder. We got some developing thunderstorms, but nothing that shows any signs of being severe. We're well north of that outflow boundary. But that outflow boundary continues to sink south. It's now into Seymour. And we're watching that thunderstorm area with some decent rotation right there on the border of Baylor and Throckmorton County. And that's moving kind of east-southeast at this point in time. So increasing little rotation down there. You got weatherman Cam's track. He's a good ways away from the storm. Cameron, where are you going at this point in time?
I'm getting towards Seymour, but Ken, I think I'm going to have to pull over here shortly when I get to Seymour. I need to get a spot that has some decent shelter, at least with a roof over my head. I don't know for certain, but one thing I want to point out is while you were talking about radar, I did see lightning hit a power pole up ahead of me off 82, and I'm not going to confirm this. There is a slight chance that the trailer itself might have also gotten struck by lightning as well. So, because I started driving and all my lights decided to come on, so I'm gonna have to pull over here once I get into Seymour. I have to pull over, get a roof over my head because this clouded ground lightning is not a joke. So that's my current plan. I gotta get to Seymour, and I might have to reboot my stream as well. So bear with me here. I just gotta make sure we're not fried. I think everything's driving fine, but there is an off chance that the tracker did get struck by lightning.
We'll check back in with you in a minute, make sure everything's all right. But there those storms are. So if you're in Seymour right now, just some rain and some wind, nothing severe there yet, but the severe weather is about to increase. It's very heavy rain and some downpours moving into Gorey and about to move into Seymour. And Jacob, we need to do probably a weather update on News Channel 6. So I don't want to cover up any of the local breaks if we can. If we have a national break, we can do it over that. If not, we can do it going back into programming. Just find me a time and we'll go from there. It just needs to be a brief update. So, but again, pretty nasty weather that's going to stretch from about Jefferson County, and it looks like we're going to see this eventually fill in down through. Now, we do see some increasing thunderstorms up here in Wichita County, but those are a bit elevated. Maybe some hail with those, but as of right now, the wind potential, not too much with those at this point in time, which is definitely some good news here. But you do see I do see really strong winds here with these storms that are now pushing through southern Jefferson County and headed right into northern parts of Monte County. You've got the red color that shows the outflow from the wind. That's the outward pushing of the wind and those thunderstorms here, which damaging wind threats increasing south of Waurika along Highway 81, headed right down into Oscar and going to move down here into the Ryan and Terrell areas, and then perhaps maybe down towards Belcherville and Nacona, Lake Nacona, Spanish Fork could get in on that too. Those thunderstorms are showing some increasing signs of some really strong wind gusts there. Here in Wichita Falls, Lakeside City Holiday, thunderstorms are increasing. Maybe some downpours and a little hail, but nothing too significant with those.
We have our next one is at 8:30. Do you want to do it now? You want to see if you want to do it now?
Yeah, we'll probably need to do a little update maybe just quickly over there, but I don't want to cover up any of this much. So we'll just do a quick weather update when we can. So. But you can see the storms now increasing behind that outflow boundary. They're along that outflow boundary to the east.
Try to do one just
All right, sounds good. So we're about to do a little update on News Channel 6, just doing a little quick update for everybody that's, because not everybody watches us on social media. A lot of people still still depend upon the TV there, but that is some really strong spin now in southeastern parts of Knox County, southwestern Baylor, coming into northwestern parts of Throckmorton. Really strong spin. You're looking at the damaging wind potential. Now, when we talked about the strong wind potential here, this is it. You got the rotation here, and you've got strong winds that are gusting out, headed right into the Throckmorton area. Of course, this is very rural. That's going to pass southeast of Seymour. The way these are looking, it's passing southeast of Seymour, but that's got some pretty strong winds in it, some really strong winds. The strongest winds are going to bow out right there along the southern border, kind of along the Four Corner region right there, near Baylor, Throckmorton, Knox, and Haskell counties. That's where your strong winds are. And there's some really strong winds, 70, 80 mile per hour winds in that. And with the way the circulation is, a little quick spin up could easily happen at just about any time there. But that is moving southeast. It is not moving east, which is some good news. Of course, as this outflow boundary comes in, we'll see if anything changes with the way the storms are. There's kind of multiple clusters in that area. And look at the storms now developing there in southern parts of Wichita County. Now, these storms in Wichita County, they are not severe. This is looking at them to the southwest there. These are not severe. Notice we have a north wind that's behind the outflow boundary. But in addition to thunder, lightning, downpours, and maybe a little hail with some of these thunderstorms, small hail, nothing major, but you do see strong winds over there in Jefferson. All right, about to do an update here, so give me just a second. All right, just a quick weather update, and we'll get back to programming here in a moment. A couple severe thunderstorm warnings. First, you got these dangerous thunderstorms moving down through eastern Knox, Baylor County, southwestern Baylor County, northern Throckmorton County. A lot of heavy rain, small hail, and some really strong winds. Been some strong wind gusts into Seymour. We'll see it quite likely move across a good part of the southern half of Baylor County. There's a little bit of broad rotation down there across southwestern parts of Baylor County, and there could be some increasing damaging wind potential, especially from about Seymour southward. Now, this activity will continue to build southeastward and will likely build across northern Throckmorton and eventually into parts of Young and Archer County. You're also seeing thunderstorms now link up from Jefferson County right through Clay and into Wichita County as well. Now, these are behind what we call an outflow boundary. These are just hail-producing thunderstorms with heavy downpours. There could be some gusty winds. There are some pretty strong wind gusts moving through Jefferson County now, about to build into Montague County. Look for some warnings to come out down that way, and some of these winds could gust up, maybe 40, 50 miles per hour with some of those. But the ones down here, especially in the northwestern part of Throckmorton and southwestern Baylor County, that is some mean winds down that way. Of course, Cameron's out in the tracker. He's tracking them. We have continuous updates going on over on Facebook Live, the website, and our News Channel 6 app. For those who want to have more coverage, go over there. We'll be watching it in the meantime. I did get off of News Channel 6, but you know, these storms are sliding southeast, and you know, you just don't see as much in the way of significant, you know, severe weather signatures into the Wichita Falls and Lawton area. You know, on a day that you get a lot of severe weather, you really like to see a cloud-free sky, or at least a rain-free condition in this limited cloud cover. And you get a lot of instability that builds up. And we had that band of showers over us this morning and early this afternoon, and I think that killed a lot of the instability here. So as these storms developed over here in the Panhandle, they weren't able to build into this direction. They wound up building south and then southeast. And then you had these showers and thunderstorms up here that produced an outflow boundary, and that's keeping a lot of the worst of the weather down to the south here. You do got some storms that have increased now southeast of Oklahoma City and kind of over here from Ardmore back through parts of Jefferson and Clay County here. These pushing into Monte County could still produce some pretty good wind gusts here. But the big wind gusts that we were talking about earlier, I don't know that it's going to happen. You know, I mean, we'll see what happens with this cluster of storms back towards Childress, but I think that these storms are going to be elevated here. You know, these could still increase some with some hail sizes perhaps increasing a bit here, but the big wind event's going to be down here, I think. You know, going to be from Seymour, southern parts of Archer County, down into Young County. Graham, you could get some pretty good winds with this, down into Throckmorton. And then you might see it develop over here into Montague County, maybe Jack County, Antelope, down towards Graham. But north of that, we'll just have to see what happens with these storms back here. They just don't have that energy to work with. You walk outside and it's cooler. So, you know, the big level 4 moderate risk could wind, and I'm going to tell you folks, and I was saying this earlier, on social media, on Facebook, it's the ones that you least expect are the ones that usually jump up and bite you in the rear end. Those are the ones that usually produce the worst weather. And the ones that are, you know, bumped up and hyped up the most, they're usually the ones that don't produce as much. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. But things are looking a lot better for the Wichita Falls area here. And Cameron right now is resetting the tracker. But that is a nasty thunderstorm there from about Seymour. So if you're in Seymour, you know, a lot of heavy rain and a lot of lightning here. The updraft, the rotation with it though is well south of Seymour, but you do see a little bit of an increase, a little bit of an uptick in the thunderstorms here over the northern part of Throckmorton County. And as this thing continues to spin over here, so when you get these little spin ups like this, what we call little MCVs, mesoconvective vortexes, you get this inflow moisture over on this side with the outflow pushing out like that. So it's not uncommon to see more showers and storms develop and kind of head up into it here. So with that said, oftentimes you're going to continue. You may see, again, I still think you could see a damaging wind threat increase into this area here. And there's your outflow boundary to the north, and it's moving. It hadn't stopped. You know, we'll see if the thunderstorms here that are southeast of Seymour that are trying to build a little more east, if they can cause that outflow boundary to stop. It's not quite as intense as it was. It's kind of lost a bit of its density here some. But if it could stop, then that might allow for this cluster of storms here to build more east along it here, and then it would increase the severe threats further to the north a bit here. So these storms that we're seeing in Cadane Corner, Holiday, and now over Lake Wichita, those are not severe, but they could still produce a little bit of hail, nothing major, but a little bit of hail would be possible. Severe thunderstorm warnings are now in effect for the Montague County area. It covers a whole area of Montague County right now. And that's that outflow boundary, and it looks like a tornado warning over there near Ardmore right now. So if you kind of take a look, you do see spin-ups along this thing from time to time. And if we look over here into Montague County, you got some pretty good winds blowing out from those storms, but nothing in terms of anything torn at it. But there are some pretty strong wind gusts, kind of just south of Ryan now, about to cross the Red River over into northern Montague County. So could be some strong wind gusts headed towards Nakona here pretty soon. And then maybe back towards Henrietta and those areas could be some gusty winds there too. But, you know, nothing that looks too major. A little bit of a hook. Let me see if that's on the outflow boundary. That's just north of the outflow boundary. There's a little bit of a hook there just north of that. That's probably a little bit elevated there. Elevated thunderstorms with downpours moving into Henrietta. Let me see here. Let me check in with Cameron real fast and find out what he's got going on. So Cameron, can you hear me right now?
Here you can. Let me find my microphone. There it is. Yeah, I can hear you, Ken.
Right now.
Hello?
Cameron, what's going on with how's the tracker?
I think we're good. I sent you a text message. I believe it's just all my anti-collision stuff. My ABS system is down. My looks like lane assist is down. My forward collision is down. Looks like just a lot of like your safety features are off at this time. I mean, I can keep going. It's your call. I don't know how effective. I mean, I don't know how important this stuff is to a running car in storms. I mean, as far as I'm aware.
You know, and if you did have a lightning strike in the area, it's all sensory. But I think that you're okay. You know, just if you do experience any problems, and you just pull over or you can come on back. But you know, just keep going for a little bit and just see how things are. Just kind of test the waters a little bit and see how it is. Okay. So Cameron's still out there in the tracker. Tracker took a lightning strike earlier. For those of you who weren't there, but look at how that outflow boundary is just kind of stopping. Kind of getting absorbed by these thunderstorms to the west. That thing is, they got a really, really, really nasty look here. So as I was saying earlier, you can see the spin in it. And I believe that that's, you know, perhaps maybe starting to ingest that outflow boundary a little bit. Because you don't see, you know, earlier you saw that big line. Now it's beginning to kind of stop and kind of beginning to kind of dissipate a bit here. So we'll see what happens with storms up to the north. But right now, again, you've got this little rotation down there, broad, weak rotation down there in northwestern Monte County, Throckmorton County, but that's mostly just strong winds there. Up to the north, you don't have any strong wind gusts in any of these storms into the south parts of Wichita County yet, but there might be some gusty winds trying to increase with this a bit. But you do got some downpours. Could be some flooding with this stuff here too. So if you're over in Monte County, you got some pretty good storms about to move into Nocona. In fact, we can check on our Nocona tower cam, see what it's showing up here. I'm not sure if it's looking north or not. But there's our Nocona tower cam, and you can see some darkening skies there just northwest of the city. And I would expect some heavy rain and gusty winds there pretty soon. So if you're in those areas, you know, you're probably in Nocona, you probably got some pretty strong wind gusts headed towards you momentarily. Back over on the radar, and I told you we're going to be live with this for most of the evening here. A lot of people very nervous about this one here. You know, I mean, I can understand it, but you know, there's so much hype on social media that people just get scared by this stuff. But these storms continue. Look at all that expansion from Seymour down to Haskell. But there's your worst of your weather there. And that's sliding more southeast than east. So at least for right now, we're pretty good. Up to the north. Just some heavy rain. You know, and there are probably some areas of small hail embedded within that. But I can really see it. And to the trained eye, I can really see it. I'll walk over here to the wall to kind of explain it here. So, and I'm not ignoring my Monte County stuff either. We're going to keep an eye on that. But here's Seymour, there's Dundee, and there's the thunderstorm. These are kind of elevated, and by elevated, they're just based up higher in the sky. And this says Vernon, Texas, but I think that's our Nocona tower cam. You can see a shelf cloud there on that. But with this thunderstorm here, this complex, your main updraft is kind of down in this area. You can kind of see it spinning. So you've got some strong wind gusts coming in on the backside headed towards Throckmorton. Strongest winds are staying south of Seymour, but when you get this bit of a spin, you get a bit of an inflow into this side. It feeds into the storm here. And that's what you're seeing with this. That's what you're seeing there, a band of heavy rain and some hail there right on the Throckmorton and Baylor County line, ingesting back into the updraft of that storm. You got strong winds now gusting out south and southeast right along 183 down here towards Throckmorton. And that's going to build over here into Young County. And you may see a bit of a growth also over here in the southwestern part of Archer County. That outflow boundary kind of dropped kind of about in this area and began to kind of lose its punch a bit. So, you know, we're going to see this is the most dangerous storms on radar. It's about to link up with these storms to the north, and I think that's going to increase. You're about to see a pretty good expansion of the damaging wind threats across the southern parts and southeastern parts of the area. It's coming together now, and, you know, our weather information kind of suggested that it might do this here. So, Cameron, you're back on the road. Everything fine?
Yeah, Ken, great news. Started driving and all my lights, my dashboard that was lit up by a Christmas tree is no longer lit up by a Christmas tree, so that is great news. So we're back on the road. What I think I'm going to do here, I'm going to go towards, I believe, the McGargle area a little bit, and then I'm going to drop south. Yeah, I think McGargle, it's only about 15-ish minutes away. Then I'll probably drop south out of McGargle and then get back on the southern side of this stuff, get across into what might be a bow echo coming across. So it's going to be a little bit of positioning work again, but golly, man. When I do think I got struck by lightning, it wasn't necessarily a head-on strike, which is, bad. But when I actually, dead ahead of me, the power pole in front of me took a direct hit from a dart, and then I think maybe potentially on the arc of that dart might have hit the tracker. So luckily we're good. We're back up and running, no issues with the tracker, and we're going again towards the McGargle area. Then we're going to probably cut south, if not east, into the storm once again, as that does look like it's linking up. It might be getting ready to go into a bit more of a bow echo and start to kick up that damaging wind risk with it.
Just keep on following it, and we'll check back in with him in just a minute. So. Jacob up in the booth, let's do a weather update at 8:30. Weather update at 8:30. And I know that I just saw on Facebook somebody was commenting that we're showing the Tony Awards and they don't care about the Tony Awards. They want to watch the weather here. And that's why we have social media, and that's why we have our website and we have our app, because at this moment, there's nothing that's too serious moving through at least part. There's some. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some serious storms moving through parts of the area here. But at least right now, it's not like a situation where it's life or death. If it changes, we'll definitely cut in on that. But right now, this is mostly a situation where I feel that we can handle it for the people who want to watch it on social media and on our website and our app. And we'll just do some cut-ins from time to time on News Channel 6. Now, if it becomes something super serious, we'll cut in over the Tony Awards. But, right now, I just believe that we're good what we're doing here. So that's why we do what we do. That's why we got the technology that we have in this day and age here. So, if I were to go on and cover up the Tony Awards, trust me, there'd be plenty of people that would be upset about that too. So we're just we're going to keep on covering it the way we're covering it right now. And if anything changes, we'll surely do it. There are some tornado warnings here. There's one over here that's kind of near the Ardmore area. And this is where these are areas that were untouched by early daytime showers here, okay? So you got a lot more energy over here for these storms to work with, and that's why they're able to really get a little more intense over this way. And it just seems like, again, almost every time we have severe weather, this is the area, Ardmore along I-35, and then those areas down west of Seymour. That's where the places are that get it the most. So, that is something to certainly, is certainly kind of the way it is. Now, in Nakona right now, you've got some very heavy rain moving in here. A lot of lightning, severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect in those areas here. And if we kind of take a look, very difficult. It's just on the edge of the radar, so it's real difficult to see anything in those areas there. There are some pretty strong wind gusts coming into Nakona now. Nothing too intense, but some pretty strong winds. I'm going to look at my Nakona Tower Cam again. There's a Nakona Tower Cam. And you can see some of those low-hanging clouds, which represent the shelf cloud or some gustier winds trying to come in. I would expect the winds to pick up there in Nakona here pretty soon. You can see some flickering lights. It looks like the winds are picking up in Nakona now, and that's with that leading edge of the thunderstorm area moving through, outflow boundary area moving through. So I'm gonna check in. We'll check in with Cameron again in a minute. Looks like we have pretty good cloud. Oh, a lot of cool lightning on his camera there. We'll check back in with Cameron in a minute. But there is Nakona. The winds are picking up out of the northwest now, and they're gonna be a little gusty. Could gust up 60 to 70 there. So we'll keep an eye on that for you over in Monte County. Now these storms. A lot of lightning with them, a lot of heavy rain. They're dropping to the southeast. Expect Montague, St. Joe, and Bowie. The weather is going to pick up. Storminess is going to pick up there here pretty soon. Looks like Cameron's got a pretty good looking cloud there on the tower on his camera there. Cameron, what do you got there on your on the chase camera there?
Best way to put it, junk. Nothing really overly impressive on the cam. You got a lot of, some low-hanging clouds, but it's nothing in terms of storm structure, anything like that that's overly worrisome. It's just some, low-hanging clouds. I'm on the, if you look, I'm sitting southeast of Seymour right now, cutting off to the southeast right now towards the McGargle area, so I'm kind of caught up in that heavy rain. And, like I said, you're just kind of seeing some of the northern portions of the storm right now. But the big thing for me personally is this cloud to ground lightning. And I like my lightning. I get a little excited by lightning. But this is some pretty pretty intense, and I'm not gonna lie, a little scary lightning just with how often just these big darts of lightning are hitting the ground. So a lot of clouded ground lightning, very lightning in place, very dangerous lightning in place across Baylor County right now. So we're gonna hit Gargle and then probably drop off to the south, just give that southeast motion on this storm. So we'll do that, and then get back towards the central part of the storm where the looks to be the strongest winds would be, maybe towards the maybe east of Throckmorton, probably my thinking at this time. But I tell you what, dude, this lightning is pretty wicked. It's beautiful to look at, pretty cool to watch, but it is intense lightning.
All right, thanks a lot, Cameron. And that's the shelf cloud you see there. Not a tornado or anything like that. But again, all right, so here in Wichita Falls, if you're worried about the weather here, nothing to be worried about. There are in Holiday and Lakeside City, all those areas. These are thunderstorms that develop behind that outflow boundary. And an outflow boundary is rain cooled air. You can see actually it's kind of faded a bit, and it's kind of gotten absorbed by these storms to the west here. But you got storms that are forming up north of that. They're not severe, though. They're downpours. They may produce a little small hail. And since they're moving so slowly, they'll probably produce a little flooding, too. And that extends eastward over into Henrietta and over to the east into Ringgold, Nakona. Heavy rain about to move into those areas with some gusty winds. In addition to that, you'll see it build south and eastward with time down towards Bowie, Montague, St. Joe, Forestburg. Southern parts of Clay County, you'll get in on some downpours near Henrietta, nothing severe. Archer City, showers and storms are about to increase. You've got storms to your north, but you've also got this area of storms to your west here too. Now, the heaviest of that activity is going to build south and east of you, down towards Alney, Throckmorton, and kind of the southern part of Archer County. But it's going to link up with those storms there eventually to the north. Mostly what we're seeing is just heavy rain, lots of lightning, and some gusty winds from time to time. Looking at the velocities there, the strongest winds I see on radar are these down here towards Throckmorton. There's a bit of a spin down there, but that's mostly gusty winds, and they're moving south. So Throckmorton, Texas itself, some strong gusty winds down that way. Up to the north, you just don't see, the winds don't appear to be as strong. There's been some gusty winds around Seymour. There are still some gusty winds that could still develop out of this. You may wind up seeing some of these develop a little bit further to the east. We go into the Nakona area, and again, there's your strong wind gusts coming out. And if we kind of stop this and kind of look at what some of the wind gusts might be like, we'll be doing a cut in on New Channel 6 in just a moment here. But that shows some force. So they're 40 to 50 mile per hour winds moving into Nakona now. So, yes, pretty gusty, but nothing that's going to just be too terribly bad. At least that's the way it looks right now. Gusty winds, some downpours, but nothing too major. We get down here into northern Archer County. Looks like there might be some gusty winds now along those storms. Might be picking up a bit. You can almost see a bit of a circulation north of the outflow boundary with some of those thunderstorms here. So there might be some gusty winds picking up a bit there, maybe towards Lakeside City. There could be some 40 mile per hour wind gusts down there north of Archer City, headed right at Highway. We're about to go on? I'm ready when you guys are.
2, 1.
All right, quick weather update for you guys that are watching the programming here. Of course, we're live on Facebook and the News Channel 6 app, and also on newschannel6now.com for those who want to continue to watch coverage. A couple of areas we're watching. We got thunderstorms that are producing a lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning and gusty winds. Looks like 40 to 50 mile per hour winds moving into Nakona now. These storms are going to continue to build south and southeast down towards St. Joe, Forestburg, and Bowie. Gusty winds, heavy downpours, dangerous lightning strikes, the main issue with those storms there. Now we can follow the storms back to the west. These are not severe at this point in time, but there's some downpours basically along an east-west line there from about the eastern parts of Clay County north of Bellevue right through Henrietta, extending due to the west. Right along Highway 281, headed right at Lakeside City over Lake Wichita, some heavy downpours. Likewise, developing over Wichita Falls, some downpours. But again, these are not severe, but they may produce some small hail, maybe a little gust of wind here or there. Strongest storms on radar remain these storms down in Baylor County, Throckmorton and Baylor County. Heavy lightning in those areas, heavy rain, and some strong gusty winds. We're probably going to see these storms down this way link up with the storms to the north. And I do expect a bit of an increasing potential for damaging winds kind of down into Young and southern Throckmorton County. And again, the southern parts of Montague and maybe down to the Jack and maybe even more of Young County as well.
Other thunderstorms are kind of developing back behind all of this, but those storms are mostly just downpours and hail producers. We've been watching these storms. Here's weatherman Cam. Cam, we're on News Channel 6 with a bit of a weather update. Just give our folks a bit of an update and tell everybody what you're doing.
Yep. Excuse me. I've been hanging out in Baylor County, but I'm about to pull into Archer County for a brief second to hit into McGargle. Then I'm going to drop southwest out of McGargle and kind of ride through the line of the storm, sitting down in the southwestern portions of Texoma. But from my end, we've been chasing for the entirety of the evening. We dealt with some very heavy rain, some gusty winds. I think the most I've seen is 60, 70, maybe at times there's a pocket of 80-mile-per-hour winds, but most of what I've seen has been 60 to 70 mile per hour. In terms of hail, from my end, what I have seen is just pea-sized hail at times. I'm sure there's been some bigger hailstones mixing in at times, but right now where I'm at, the bigger story at this time is going to be the lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. If you have not been following us, I do believe the tracker did take a lightning strike as well, so we got that sorted out. We're good now, but just very dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning stuff's very frequent with the lightning, and a lot of it I can see it directly in front of me, constantly hitting the ground. So right now the conditions I'm in are calm, but once I get into McGargle, which is only 2 or 3 minutes away from me, as I take that southwest turn, that's going to get pretty hairy once again as I drive right through the line of storms again.
Checking in, just be safe out there. And again, a lot of thunderstorms out there, and increasing damaging wind potential with the storms that are continuing to link up, and it's going to be a bit of an increase in wind damage potential across this area here as we get into the evening, especially into Young County, continue Throckmorton, southern Baylor County, maybe crossing southern parts of Archer County here, over into Jack County, Monte County, and maybe southern parts of Clay County. North of that, just some shower, thunderstorm activity, maybe a little hail from time to time, but it looks like the worst of the winds are going to pass to our southeast. And remember, we're tracking this stuff and following it live over on the News Channel 6 Facebook page, as well as newschannel6now.com and the News Channel 6 app. All right. So, but thankfully, this has really just not been. There's been some gusty winds in there, but thankfully, and our weather models really did a good job with this. It really, as we got into the afternoon, this really started to nail exactly who was going to see what with all this activity here. It really did a good job with. The instability just got chewed up there along the Red River, and it was becoming apparent to me that there was going to be two separate areas, and then it begins to consolidate to the south of us here. That is exactly what has happened here. You got this one over here in Monte County. You got increasing showers and storms west of that, but that's not severe. But you do got some of these gusty winds over into Nocona now. Pretty good wind gust, and you probably have a little few areas of some circulations in there as well. Like there's probably one just northeast of Nocona. You can see a little bit of spin there along Lake Nocona. There's a little bit of a spin on either side of Nocona right now. If you kind of take a look, I'm going to walk over here. There's no tornado warnings for this yet, but with this type of situation, the spin up can happen real quickly, and that's why we call them spin ups here. You got winds that are blowing out away from the radar here, coming out of Jefferson County. You got some pretty strong outflow winds there, and you also got some outflow in this area here. So this may be a little bit elevated behind all of it. Hard to say, but you do see some circulation, some circular motion right in this area, right there, just northeast of Nocona, about to cross. So what is that? To Highway 82 down towards St. Joe. And this is moving to the southeast. And you also have another little couplet over here on the backside. But again, this might be a little bit elevated. Hard to say, but it could be a little bit on up high. But there's definitely two areas of circulation. One over Lake Nocona, could be aloft, could be up high in the sky. And you got this other one west in Nocona, just south of Highway 82 here. And it too could be a little bit elevated as well. But there are definitely some little areas of rotation in there over northern parts of Monte County. So we'll just have to see, kind of see how everything kind of plays out here with it. Definitely an increase in some damaging winds there, especially as it comes into Lake Nocona. Let's go back to my my Nocona tower cam and check in there. And it's a lot of very heavy rain falling over Nocona at this hour. Of course, it's coming up on 9 o'clock, so we've gotten dark outside, but you can see the winds are blowing. Looks like pretty good wind. Hard to say from this vantage point, but there's some pretty strong gusty winds in Nocona.
you know, nonstop lightning and some very heavy rainfall pushing through Nocona right now. That's where the strongest of the storms are over into Montague County. Now keep in mind, this will be sliding southeast into more of central Montague County. We're talking about Montague, St. Joe, and those areas. And eventually Bowie gets in on it too. And then Jacksboro and Antelope down there in the southern parts of the area too will eventually get in on this activity here. So we go back to the thunderstorms here on the radar. Sorry, I'm responding. All right, so you know, a lot of lightning, a lot of amble lightning here. Chris Cutter just said, hey, a little impressive lightning on the backside of it there up between near Iowa Park, and that's amble lightning. So over here in Montague County, again, heavy rain, small hail and gusty winds pushing south. That's moving basically due south along Highway 81. Heavy rain into Nocona, you saw that a moment ago. This is also dropping into the St. Joe area. Dropping due south, going to move right south down towards Bowie, Sunset, with some really gusty winds in those areas picking up soon. And I do see strong gusty winds, and I do see circulation in it. I don't know, it could be slightly elevated, but you see it right there just on the other side of Belcherville. A bit of a circular wind motion right in there. And there's also another one over Lake Nocona. You know, this one's pretty decent looking near Belcherville, but it's kind of in the wrong spot. It's kind of embedded within all that really heavy rain. So no tornado warnings there, but certainly do got a couple little areas of rotating winds there. Over towards Ardmore, look, there's another tornado warning south of Durant, Oklahoma. Those are way away from the radar site, but those things are spinning over that way now. And then we go back here to the west here. Again, some downpours, but nothing severe. Lake Arrowhead, Holiday, Lakeside. Matter of fact, it looks like the storms have actually ended in Lake Holiday for now, over into Wichita Falls. So, boy, this is, you know, we really dodged a bullet with all those storms that developed early in the day. It just zapped in. You can really see it. You can see now early in the day, there was a band of showers. Cameron and I were talking about this. There was a band of showers, we call it garbage stuff, that was sitting right in there. And that just chewed up the instability. That's why storms organized here and they organized here, because there weren't as many in those areas. But there, that just absolutely did. That's weather. And when you're dealing with what we call mesoscale features, small scale features in the atmosphere, little things like that can make all of the difference in the world here. So back to the west, here's some more storms that kind of arc from about Hardeman County back off to the northwest into the Amarillo area, but those are what we call, I think those are mostly what we call elevated thunderstorms. They're going to be hail producers and heavy downpour producers, but you don't see a lot of wind with those. I mean, there's some, even a little bit of some weak rotation in them, but you know, nothing too major right now. I'll keep an eye on that and see if anything changes with that. But as of right now, honestly, the strongest storms on radar appear to be over in Montague County and kind of down into Throckmorton County, and they're kind of beginning to lose. They're building into Young County now too, but they're kind of you know, kind of looking less impressive as far as structure goes. Heavy rain over Throckmorton now, and this is going to be building into Young County. You're probably about to see some stronger storms over here into Archer County too, southwest Archer County, just southwest of Archer City. You're seeing on the northern side of them. You can kind of see the leading edge of this here, kind of right in there. So you do see some little bit of a flare up maybe in some of the thunderstorm activity, a little bit of an increase in some downpours over this way. So don't be surprised if you see a little bit of an increase in some storm activity, and it looks like we are seeing that now. Parts of southern Archer and northern Young County, from Graham up to Alney to south of Archer City, and that might include Windthorst over this way. Heavy downpours over the Lake Arrowhead area. Nothing too major there, though. And if I take a look again, there's just not anything. There's just not anything going on. The strong winds have kind of through Throckmorton County. The northern side of that is not really pushing out a lot of wind yet. I mean, it could change a bit, but you know, as of right now, there's just not a whole lot there. Sorry, I'm looking at the wind. I'm just doing storm analysis here. Yeah, you don't see hardly anything wind-wise.
and that's just weather for you. A lot of hype on social media, and I'll even admit on my page, I even had some, I even put on there that I thought we could see a large area of destructive winds, and that was the way it was looking. But remember, if you watched me earlier today on Facebook, I talked a little bit about how I thought that there was a chance that the instability could be getting eaten up from some of those storms. So. And that indeed kind of did happen a bit. I do see a little bit maybe of a new updraft or a little bit of an increasing an updraft there near Round Timber southeast of Seymour. Just looking at that. You can see kind of a bit of a flare up there along the leading edge there. So you might see a bit of a damaging wind threat might increase across parts of Archer down into Young County. We'll just have to see how that evolves, but right now nothing major. But you go back to the west, we do got some new thunderstorms that developed along the river there or just along the Bay, Hardeman and Ford County line. That's nothing major. You also got some showers up there near Altus. Then we go back west, and you've got these thunderstorms that are dropping to the southeast kind of behind everything. And we're going to be dealing with some storms overnight tonight, but the main severe threat is now. Everything is now. And, the thing about this is this developing complex of storms did not come together until it got south and southeast of Wichita Falls. We were thinking about this complex of storms coming in from the north and with big winds, and that didn't happen. It's all because, again, of that shower activity we had earlier in the day. We have storms over near Ardmore and the Monte County; those are severe. Then you see that little bit of a lull there in the middle, and the time frames. It was hard to put a time frame on this since there wasn't really a time frame. So that's just weather for you. That's just how it goes. Here's Weatherman Cam. Weatherman Cam, you're pretty dark where you're at right now.
Wow. Clipping that.
Well, can you hear me, Weatherman Cam?
Wow.
Cameron, can you hear me? Out there in the tracker, it is dark in that tracker, man. You can't see anything. I don't know where he's at, but he's getting a lot of lightning, that's for sure. And Cameron loves lightning. He loves to he takes lightning pictures all the time. That's what he lives for. So I don't know if Cameron, can you hear me yet?
I think you're tossing me. I'm trying to get my internet's kind of in and out right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and ramble on. If you hear me, great. If you don't, well, you don't. But yeah, so we passed through McGardle. I passed through McGardle not too long ago. What I'm doing now is moving my way towards the Throckmorton-ish area, and what this has me doing is basically a directly slicing through this storm as I get through there. However, the winds where I'm going through are not going to be the strongest portion of the storm at the time. Those are going to be, about southwest of Throckmorton right now. So we're going to get some gusty winds, but it doesn't look to be anything that's overly bearing when it comes to. But the lightning show has been out of this world impressive. I've lived here for 2 years now, and this is probably some of the best lightning I've seen. A lot of clouded ground lightning, a lot of what I call spiderweb lightning, where you see it strike and kind of see it spiderweb out across the sky. So some very photogenic lightning, but also some very, very dangerous lightning in place as well. So right now, I'm kind of in the middle of I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere right now, working my way towards the highway. But 5 miles from, I'll be on Highway 79 again. So back to some more, I don't say populated roadway, but a more navigable roadway on next 5 miles. So unfortunately, the chase, for the good news is that has been fairly low event. He had a little bit of a time where we had some gusty wind and some small hail mixing in, but overall it's been a pretty low event chase for us. Just some noisy thunderstorms again. With, get some pockets, some heavier wind. But like you've been saying, I think we really did dodge a bullet, because we were thinking we could have seen some really destructive winds, could have seen some potentially widespread power outages. So I think we'll gladly take this over what we were initially looking at. And I do think those earlier showers that we saw earlier in the day did really help save us and prevent us from that. So yeah, so I'm going to go towards the Throckmorton area. I'm going to slice through the storm some. I don't expect anything major to come out of that. But at that point, I guess I won't say reassess, but kind of reassess where we're at position-wise, and then see what's going on with the weather. And like I said, it's pretty much a very low event storm chase for the entirety of the evening. So kind of had some, I'll say, hopes to get some pretty nasty winds, but as a storm chaser, you do hope to see some of the gnarly weather. But gladly we'll take going to sleep with power tonight. I'm sure much of Texoma will also appreciate going to bed with power tonight, because I'm like you, I can't sleep with powers out, because I like to hear my fans, I like to have the AC going, I like to stay cool. So we'll gladly take the alternative what we're seeing right now. Of course, still got some pockets of some strong winds on it, but nothing like we originally thought we could see yesterday. So toss it back to you, Ken, and Throckmorton-ish in about 20 minutes or so, and I guess we'll kind of collaborate on what we think we should do plan-wise, because the heaviest of stuff is pushing out of the area, and if it's worth chasing, we'll go after it. If not, we'll let it go, and then just find an alternative plan, I guess.
Stay safe. And back over to the radar, a lot of strong winds moving through Nakona here. I got people on Facebook saying, hey, a lot of strong winds moving through Nakona. Heavy rain, but it's going to be out in Nakona here pretty soon. It's not going to be there in Nakona for too much longer. The worst of it's pushing through now, but it's about to move southeast of you there. We ought to see the winds probably beginning to let up there a bit. Still some pretty strong winds there, kind of southeast of there, but the storms are going to be building into Bowie shortly. So, you can expect some pretty strong wind gusts down there in the Bowie. Could be 40, 50 miles per hour. Looks like that's mostly what we're seeing with this here. And some blinding rain, maybe some small hail, but nothing major. Then that kind of extends to the west over into Clay County and into parts of Archer and Wichita County. Just some non-severe thunderstorms there, just some showers and some thunderstorms. Then you get over here into parts of Young and into Archer County. It looks to me like you're beginning to see a bit of an uptick in storms in Young County. Now, Cameron's down there in Throckmorton County. That's where the worst of it is. But I think you're beginning to see a bit of a forward building area storms over into Young County. So we got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect there. It does include Graham, and you can definitely see some spin over that way. I see a couple little areas where there may be a new little updraft there, and you can see some of those green winds coming in from the north. Now, in this instance, the radar site is located down in the Abilene area, so it's shooting up a bit high. But you got two areas of some really strong winds. You got strong winds south of Throckmorton now, and then you got strong winds coming over into Young County. That's located kind of south of Prophet. You can see a little bit of a spin in those areas. So you might see a bit of a damaging wind threat increase across southern parts of Young County. And I never say it right, Elizaville. And then you might see some strong wind gusts maybe in Graham if this thing comes in. But it's got a tendency, though, for everything to kind of push more southeast than east, though. Pretty loud clap of thunder just here in Wichita Falls. But that is some really strong wind gusts over there now. This is what we were worried about earlier today. And this was an area, this is what could have been widespread over our area. So if you look here, you can see widespread, this green and almost, on my palette here, almost a bit of a rust color southwest of Throckmorton there. And that would represent some winds that are up there around 90 miles per hour. That is some very strong winds there. That's what the potential was there for here today. That is damaging winds over southwestern Throckmorton County. That is rural, though. That is definitely in a very rural area, but that is some strong wind gusts there. And then it's kind of down 183, moving right into the Woodson area along 183 there, very rural parts of Throckmorton County, southern Throckmorton County. Some of these strong wind gusts could find their way over into southwestern parts of Young County, but I think just based upon this that the strongest winds would stay southwest of Graham. So, but that is some really strong winds there. That's dropping due south, so really strong winds. You're seeing strong winds now northwest of Abilene. So that's where the wind events coming together is there. And then you skip it, and even over into Montague County, you're starting to see the winds increase a bit there along Highway 81 northwest of Bowie. So Bowie, you're about to see some strong gusty winds there soon, 40, 50 miles per hour, but they are showing some signs of increasing a bit here. No severe thunderstorm warnings over there. Kind of surprised. But heavy rain and hail will be building in those areas there shortly. Back over to the west, Wichita, not much going on here. Not much going on here. Little thunderstorm has now developed just south of Archer City, and that's going to develop over into southern parts of Clay County there. We'll see if those storms can get their act together. Some storms now develop on the forward flank of this big cluster of storms. So it looks like Graham's about to get in on the act. Let's see what our Graham Tower cam shows here. I'm going to go to Graham. So everything's starting to develop kind of now east of where Weatherman Cam is located. So there is my Graham Tower cam, and there some lightning strikes there. Heavy rain and maybe some gusty winds could be developing in Graham shortly. But as of right now, it doesn't look like anything too bad. And as you heard Cam say, this has been
been a low-end severe weather event on a day that could have been. I'm telling you, those early showers are what actually did it for us and limited the threat here today. That's exactly what did it. Before Cameron left, and even earlier today, I told him, I sent him a message. I said, hey, I think these early showers could wind up hurting this event here. Now, we do got some new severe thunderstorm warnings back here to the west. These are some hail-producing, another loud clap of thunder. These are some hail-producing thunderstorms back here from Paducah into Knox County. There could be some gusty winds with those, but I think that most of that is elevated. But there could be some gusty winds with that there, too. The strongest of the winds are with this stuff here. So you've got a couple of areas that you're going to be dealing with these strong gusty winds here. You're going to be dealing with this area over there that's moving right along the Red River there, and it's moving kind of towards the Sherman-Denison area. Then you got this activity over this way that's from Graham and going to head into Abilene. And eventually this stuff's going to link up to the north, and you're going to wind up seeing some gusty winds kind of down into this area. So when we get severe weather this year anyway, it seems like that the bulk of our severe weather occurs over into here, and then it get a lot of it down into this area, and then you get it down here. I'm not complaining, but that just seems like the way it's been this year. In years past, it'll always be up here, but this year it's kind of been this area here. Doesn't matter what system comes through, that's the one you see. That's where you see it at. But a lot of thunderstorms out there tonight. But in general, at least over us, we've been spared the worst of it, the brunt of it. But, you do got this spin down towards Throckmorton. Heavy rain and a lot of strong gusty winds now pushing through the southeastern part of Throckmorton County. And you've got thunderstorms developing out ahead of it there, too. Bit of an increase there in Archer County there some, but nothing severe. So Bowie, thunderstorms are building into your area now. So if you're in Bowie, you may be seeing some gusty winds here momentarily if you're not yet. Bowie, you're on the edge of the radar, so it's real difficult to see. But it looks like the wind gusts are beginning to increase now just north of you, and some pretty strong wind gusts now into St. Joe as well. Most of what we've seen over this way, 40 to 50, but they could increase a bit here too. So Bowie, some gusty winds moving into the city soon, if not already, followed by some heavy downpours. Maybe some small hail. Henrietta, just some rumbles of thunder and some showers in your area. Down to the south, big cluster of storms, down here into western parts of Young County, Prophet, Graham, Olney, heavy rain in those areas. Let's look at the winds here. So the winds are increasing a bit, over here near Prophet, south of Olney. They're not too bad in the Graham yet, and it looks like the worst of the winds, at least for now, will be west-southwest of you, unless we start seeing a bit of an increase in spin up this way. Then Graham can get in it. But as of right now, the strongest winds are back in Throckmorton County, and those are some big-time winds, 80 to 90-mile-per-hour winds dropping through southwestern parts of Montague County. Cameron, some big winds there southwest of Throckmorton. Where are you at right now?
It's a lot of internet issues down in the area that he's in. I'm looking at him on, I've got him on Live 360 here, so I'm trying to see if I can find him. And looks like last update there, he was west-southwest of Albany, kind of west of Newcastle, kind of northwest of Graham a bit. So Weatherman Camp is kind of in the thick of it. A lot of heavy rain down there, but nothing too major. But you can really see that big Gary of some really dangerous winds, and it is about to. Now this is where it all is coming together. This could have been over us. This is developing in the areas that did not see early showers and thunder showers this morning, and those winds widespread. This is a widespread area of winds into the 70 to 100 mile per hour range, coming into Woodson, southeast of Throckmorton, all the way down into just north of Abilene. Very dangerous wind situation. That could be moving through our area here this evening, and it's not. We were spared. Maybe some gusty winds coming into Bowie, but even they don't look that bad. I mean, it really doesn't. This part of the storm area really not that intense. So you're going to see, I think that the two areas that are going to be the most at risk are going to be this area over here that kind of moves over this way. And then this area over here, this big cluster here, that's going to wind up moving down towards, you know, the southeast, Abilene, Stephenville, those areas. Graham could get some of those winds, but they're not incredibly strong now. Now you got elevated thunderstorms developing back off to the northwest. These are some hail producers. Probably not huge hail producers. Look at all these storms increasing over that way. And they're going to be moving across. Flooding could become a major concern with these because they're going to train over some of the same spots. But these are going to kind of move over into this area here too. You know, there may be a bit of an eastward push at some point. But that's what we're seeing. Those are not going to be big wind producers. They're going to be just hail and heavy rain. Again, there's Weatherman Cam. Cameron, can you hear me?
You can.
Kind of west-southwest of Albany.
Yeah, what I'm doing here, I'm going to Throckmorton. You have your strongest wind sitting just off to the southeast of Throckmorton at this time. Really starting to see some pickup in those wind signatures down there towards the Woodson area. So, you know, I'm pushing through the junk of the storm right now, is probably a good way to put it. Just some heavy rain, got some gusty winds, but nothing overly crazy. Maybe get 30, 40 miles per hour at times. Plenty of lightning, no hail, but what I'm watching here is watching that big ball of wind come together just to the northwest of Woodson right now. So what I'm probably going to do here is as I get to Throckmorton, I'm going to drop further south and then get into those winds and get a feel on how strong those winds are going.
So it may be hard for you to catch it at this point in time, but it's not far from being out of southeastern Throckmorton County. I mean, if you're not already through Throckmorton, you may not catch it.
Yeah, that is one of my concerns, is not being able to catch up to it. So, like I said, you know, mapping it out wise, unfortunately, the Forest Cell Service is not the best in terms of location. I'm about 10-ish miles out of Throckmorton, so we'll have to get Throckmorton, I guess, at that point, kind of reassess to see what I need to do. But this thing, I'll say hope for an eventful chase. But like I said earlier, you know, as a storm chaser, you know, we were anticipating those big winds. Obviously, this is all coming together further south of the area, which is great for us here in Texoma. But maybe we'll be able to play some. So I'll keep you updated. We'll be in Throckmorton in about 10 minutes or so, and then I'll keep you updated as to what the plan is from there and if I can catch those winds or not. Because that storm is going to be moving pretty quickly. When you get those winds like that, it's going to start really booking it off to the south. So
more east towards Newcastle. It just depends on how it all develops. I think those winds are going to be out of Throckmorton County by the time you even get to Throckmorton. So I don't want to send you on a wild goose chase. So, you know, we could see some of those winds gust up over there in parts of Young County too. They're not there yet, but it could happen. So, but again, a lot of this is developed, as we talked about earlier today, Cameron. It's developed where the instability was, where that energy was, and those showers that we had over us earlier in the day, it gobbled up the instability here, and it kept it from happening over us. So, just be safe, and we'll be checking in with you here momentarily. All right. So there the thunderstorms are. All rolling through down here into Young County. Now these are mostly south of Archer City. Here in Wichita Falls, there's just nothing going on right now. Now there are some storms over here in Vernon that have developed, kind of some shower thunderstorm activity. We'll see some more develop. We're not done with it, but you know there are your other thunderstorms developing behind all this stuff, and they're heavy rain and hail. There's a bunch of them up there, and it's going to be building kind of like that. But this is not going to be the wind. This is going to be heavy rain and hail, and probably mostly small hail. A lot of cool lightning, though, out there tonight. People are saying, hey, beautiful lightning strikes. So, beautiful lightning strikes here. But a lot of really nasty weather moving down there through Throckmorton County. Now, this could have been us if we didn't see those early showers. What you're seeing moving down through Throckmorton County now towards Woodson, that would be us. It'd be more of the area here. And I do see some strong wind gusts there now in southwestern parts of Young County, but that's dropping south. And there might be a little bit of an increase in some of the winds over towards Graham some too, perhaps. But we'll just see what happens as these storms fill in now. Your line's filling in nicely. You've got some storms and now have increased in southern parts of Clay County down to about where all the storms have been this year, down here towards like Buffalo Springs, and these are just north of Antelope. You got some pretty good downpours developing towards Albany that could build into Antelope, and eventually this will head into Jacksboro. Bowie heavy rain is moving into your area now from the north. Some downpours moving right into Bowie. Severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect there. Based upon radar, though, wind gusts don't appear to be too high.
we can take a look at how strong maybe here, and some of these winds, yep, could be about 50 to 60. Now, this is radar hitting it up way up high in the atmosphere, so you can't really tell, but this indicates that some of the winds could be up above, 50, 60 miles per hour. They're coming into Bowie. So a gust or two could be pretty high there. Could cause some power outages into Bowie, blinding rains, and likewise in St. Joe, some heavy downpours moving on through. Now, it looks like the worst of it's through Nocona. So Nocona, the worst of the weather is now in the south, so about over with in Nocona here. So that's good news. We can expand this and look back to the west. Just a lot of thunderstorm activity here tonight, but the worst of the worst is kind of back, kind of developing south and southeast here. So if you look here, pretty good hailstorm. I'm going over there in Ford County, moving into Knox County. Some decent, probably mostly peat and nickel size hail. Looks like we got Cam might be in some good wind now. Cameron, looks like you're in some good wind, buddy.
No, that's just the camera point directly to the side of the tracker, so you're just getting the wind mixed with the speed of the tracker as well, so it's a bit deceiving right now. I just popped up there. What I did, I hit a U-turn. I'm going to go towards the Newcastle area. I have a quicker route to get there, so I'll be in Newcastle in about 15 to 20 minutes. So that's my current play now. I'm going to get to this Young County as these storms continue to potentially pulse up with the wind off to the east. But I tell you what, these driving conditions are treacherous because you got the very blinding rains. You got some ponding on the roads. You got constant strobe lightning. You get some pockets of gusty winds, but where I'm at, nothing overly impressive when it comes to gusty winds. But I do think flash flooding is also going to be a concern as well, just with how heavy the rain is coming down. Like you mentioned earlier, you do have some more storms building off to the northwest. So you get, I don't say the training storm effect, but you get more storms going right over where these areas are seeing the heavy rains that will up the flash flood threat. So I'll be in Newcastle about 15 to 20 minutes. I'll play with the storms that are building off to the east into Young County, and keep an eye out there.
So we've been tracking those storms, just hail-producing storms. Nothing too major at this time, but you can really see the showers and storms have really increased now from about Bowie over to the southern side, just south of Blue Grove, over here in Buffalo Springs. Quite a bit of some thunderstorm activity over this way with some heavy rain, lightning strikes, and some mostly small hail. And if we look at the wind velocities, and again, everything is on the edge of the radar. Still looks like some pretty gusty winds aloft at least, and they could be moving into Bowie. Could be some 50-plus mile-per-hour winds in Bowie here now, if not now, very soon here, kind of spreading out a bit. Then you get down here into more of Clay County. You don't see any big winds there. I do see some pretty good wind gusts now down here into Young County. You can really see some bowing features there, especially towards the Lusk community there in Throckmorton. This is what I'm talking about, folks. If we would have gotten, if these storms were more widespread, look at this. That shows a wind gust of 93 miles per hour there near Woodson. Now, that looks pretty legit right there. That's some pretty strong winds. We do see some pretty strong winds, and there's a bit of a rotating spin near Ellisville. I can't ever say Elizaville. But you do see a bit of a circular motion in the winds there. So you do see a little bit of a spin in this area down towards Graham and Allen. This would be just, might be seeing some increase in some of the winds aloft in this area. That would make sense. You got this little area of low pressure kind of over near Woodson, and you got a bit of a spin with it here. So with it, you get this, you get these, we can say it's about right there. You get the strong winds on the back side of it here, and then you get this bit of a wind feeding into it as well in this direction. So definitely some spin down in this area. Some very strong wind gusts there. All right, so a little bit of spin again there, just southwest of Graham, and nothing major here, nothing to be concerned with, that's for sure. But the big winds headed towards Abilene. In Bowie now, you got some pretty good gusty winds, pretty good downpours moving through. Severe thunderstorm warnings do continue. There's your new severe thunderstorm warning that includes the southern part of Montague. Now, there could be some hail in Bowie here, too. Nothing too big, but some small hail And you do see some hail signatures back on the activity, so a bit of an increase there across the southern parts of Clay County. Heavy rain and a lot of lightning with this too here, and some gusty winds. Pretty rough weather moving through Bowie. The worst of the weather is now out of Nocona, moving through St. Joe and Montague, dropping to the south. And then you get over here to Wichita Falls. There's still thunder. This is what we call anvil lightning. You're seeing a lot of lightning on the backside of these thunderstorms here, and some rumbles of thunder, maybe a little bit of a sprinkle from time to time. There are these storms back off to the west. We'll see if they build into the area late tonight. I don't know that they will. They may be just southwest of us, but there'll probably still be some more. But you can almost see nonstop warnings now from about Oklahoma City or just east of Oklahoma City down into Area 1 we're tracking, and then here's the next warnings for Area 2. This area is going to increase down in this way. We'll see more warnings, Abilene and just west of the Metroplex towards Stephenville. These storms will drop to the southeast towards the Arklatex later tonight and perhaps the Dallas area. So those are the two swaths of wind. And then these storms back behind it, they're going to be some hail producers along with some downpours and maybe some flooding and some loud claps of thunder. So that's what we're looking at with these. Let's look at some model data here. See what some model data is showing here. So this shows the storm. This actually did a pretty good job this afternoon showing this. See, it doesn't really bring those other storms that are back off to the west into the falls. It kind of keeps them to the south, and it kind of moves it out late tonight. And then here we are tomorrow. The front south of us tomorrow. But there might still be an isolated thunderstorm or two around, but nothing major. Another little thunderstorm complex late tomorrow night into Tuesday. I still can't take rain chances out of the forecast this week. I mean, it doesn't look like near as active, but there'll still be some areas of storms around from time to time, but at least nothing too active here. But folks, I mean, for the most part, we did dodge a bullet tonight. For the most part, we did. Now, I mean, you tell that to the folks down there south of Throckmorton, they say, no, we didn't. But for the most part, we have dodged a bullet. What could have been did not materialize. It's starting to come together now, and I still think there'll be some pretty big wind gusts down there. But what could have been a lot worse for a larger part of the area, and it's not. We really got lucky in the fact that there were this early showers around this morning that kind of limited a lot of this activity here. Now, we do still see some strong wind gusts. They're actually picking up. And look at that, is some really, really strong winds down here in south parts of Throckmorton County. I mean, those winds are, they've been up around 90 miles per hour. They could still be in that range there, too. I mean, you're looking at, that's not going to be inaccurate. It says 75, but I think they're probably more like along the lines of 80 to 90. So, well, 70 to 90 mile per hour winds in those areas there. I don't want to do that. I don't know why I did that. So let's get out of there. And up into, you might even be seeing a bit of an increasing winds along the Throckmorton-Young County line. So Murray could see some pretty gusty winds there. And the areas across western parts of Young County there, west of Newcastle. And we might be seeing a bit of an increase in some of the gusty winds near Graham, too. Let's go back to the Graham Tower Camp. Could be some pretty good downpours there right now. But, as far as this big blow of this 120 mile per hour winds, that is not going to materialize over our area here tonight. A lot of lightning in Graham, but, it's hard to tell by what's going on right there from that vantage point. But there's a lot of lightning down there in the Graham area at this time. And, some downpours, some rain, and maybe a little bit of gusty winds, but nothing too major, or at least it doesn't look that way at this point in time. In Bowie, though, heavy rain, some small hail, and again, some gusty winds pushing on through. Yeah, it looks like the winds have picked up a bit. Keep in mind, we're a long way from the radar sites here, so it's real difficult to tell, but, some pretty good winds probably pushing through. I'd say probably 50, 60 probably pushing through Bowie right now, just estimated on radar here. Worst of it's now south of Nocona, not a whole lot, not too bad in the St. Joe area. But, there in the Bowie area, pretty strong wind gusts. That's probably the strongest storm on radar I see, at least in our viewing area here. You do look east, and there are these tornado warnings over here south of Durant. Remember, this is where it usually always hits, is over this way. And, that's just kind of edge of the radar sites there, too. Very difficult to see, what takes place. But every one of those storms are rotating over there.
Pretty strong winds headed into the Gainesville area, north of Denton. And then you see pretty solid winds now. Pretty strong winds have now picked up on the storms here on the backside here, over towards Bowie. Winds are increasing. I still think 50 to 60 certainly is a good possibility there. So if you look there, that's estimating 50 to 60, but it's becoming more widespread. You can see how it's really spreading out now. So strong straight line winds have finally started to materialize over Montague County. This is pushing through Bowie, Lake Amon Carter now, Amon Carter Reservoir. We might see a bit of an increase in the winds, perhaps maybe down towards Jack County too, as the storm's moving in that direction. Winds are picking up some now towards Graham. Looks like the winds on the northern side of this big mesovortex here are increasing a bit. Pretty strong wind gust over that way, north of Ellisville. I can't even say that correctly here. Cameron, pretty good winds, kind of some decent winds there over into Young County, but nothing major. And I see you texting me kind of boring, so.
Yeah, I just pulled off of whatever highway that was, and I'm going towards the Newcastle area. I just pulled off this highway. I'm on 926 East, shooting towards the Newcastle area. See if we can get on some of the backside of these storms, maybe put down some winds. I mean, there's been times on this track that it's gotten gusty at times with the inflow jet kicking into the backside of these storms, but nothing major. Heavy rain. Also, there is some decent ponding out there on the roads as well, so keep that in mind. I mean, I know most people aren't out driving on these roads this time of night, but there is some decent ponding out there. So with that being said, I had to knock my speed down some. Because of that, hydroplaning's pretty easy. So we're going to be in Newcastle in about 5 to 10 minutes or so. Hopefully get on the backside of these winds, but yeah, that's about it for my end again.
Developed on a forward flank of this just southwest of Graham, and they're moving almost due north around. So the whole thing is circulating, and you got those storms moving around on the north side of it. I don't know that they necessarily have any rotation in them, maybe a little bit, but you do see some strong wind gusts about to cross southwestern parts of Young County, and there might be a bit of an increase in some winds there just south of Newcastle and Graham, but it looks like the worst of the winds for now will probably stay, kind of just out of Young County, Cameron.
That being said, obviously I'll be in Newcastle here shortly. I guess at that point, what is the game plan? What are you thinking wise? Because, most of the intense weather is building off to the south of Texoma. You're trying to see some linking going on between, looks to be Montague County roughly and into Young County this time. But again, that's not really going to materialize until it gets south of the area. So I'll be in Newcastle 10 minutes, but I guess at that point, just kind of reassess what's going on. Because once these storms link up and they get those winds going, they are going to be booking it out of the area. And at that point, they become hard to chase just because of how fast they move. And you're pushing through some pretty rough driving conditions. So your call when we get to Newcastle, let you think about it. You got about 10 minutes to think about it. So
we'll reassess when you get there, but as of right now, it just looks to me like the worst of the weather is moving out of that area. But we'll watch it and see what happens. A lot can happen between now and then, but just looking at the radar, there's these two little supercells that develop down here on the southern flank of all of this here. But they're going to get absorbed by that larger. You can see the merry-go-round spin just west of there. From about Woodson Prophet. You can see the rotation there. These supercells are going to be moving almost due north, and they're going to get absorbed by the bigger circulation off to the north here. There's probably going to be some pretty good wind gusts there just southwest of Graham, I would think, here. So we could see some of these strong winds head towards Graham. Too bad that Cameron is up here towards Newcastle, because Graham that might be the next place to go. We might push him towards Graham, maybe. We'll see. The storms are not building east; they're building more southeast than they are east. But there's little cells down to the north of Ellisville, or whatever it's called. I can never call it. It's spelled Ellisville, but there's an A in there that throws me off here. So, but Ellisville, there's some spin down in that area. So we'll just see how it all looks whenever he gets to Newcastle. But it could. We could still see some strong wind gusts in Graham. We're not ruling that out. We're not getting off of here yet because we still got that. Now up into Bowie, strong winds continue to push through Bowie now. Coming up, moving over Lake Amon Carter, heavy, strong wind gusts there at this point in time. I don't know how strong the winds are. We can take a look here And just kind of estimate. This is estimate from radar, only 40 to 50. So they're not incredibly strong according to radar, but it could be stronger than that. Just keep in mind this is up high in the atmosphere, so 40 to 50 miles per hour is what it's kind of showing there. In addition to that, just some blinding rain and mostly small hail in those areas here. The storms are starting to build into Jack County now. Shower thunderstorms are increasing in Jack County. We now have new severe thunderstorm warnings up for Wise County, and that would include Decatur. Some strong wind gusts are starting to pick up, and there could be some real strong winds moving into Sunset, Alvord, and down towards Bridgeport and Decatur shortly. This is where those gusty winds are headed, and this is going to start beginning to flirt with the northwest side of the metroplex. And these winds are increasing some up towards Bowie and Lake Amon Carter, and they could increase even further as they make their way down into northwestern part of Wise County. So there could be some damaging winds there, and perhaps maybe even some power outages in those areas. So we'll keep an eye on that. There's pretty strong wind gusts up north of Denton, Texas tonight. But you continue to see this spin back towards pretty large scale spin, kind of back towards the southern parts of Young and Throckmorton County there. Pretty good spin showing up, kind of like a merry-go-round. Nothing too bad at this point in time into Young County, but we're keeping an eye on that. It looks like there might be some stronger wind gusts trying to pick up now southwestern parts of Young County here. In addition to that, some very heavy rainfall showing up here. You've got this storm that developed on the forward flank of this. It's beginning to get absorbed now by that thunderstorm. So we're not ready to jump off here just yet, folks. And then you got the hail-producing storms back off to the northwest here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take time here now to try to answer a few questions here. Yes, this is currently happening. All this is current. Small hail in Bowie. Thank you for the comment there, Carrie. Amy, if you're in Wichita Falls, no, the worst of it missed us. It didn't come together until it got southeast of us. And as I've been saying multiple times here on this, those little showers we had mid-afternoon is what it saved us. It saved us. So Wichita Falls is safe. So people want to ask about Possum Kingdom, and you know what? Possum Kingdom could be in a pretty rough location here. So there's Possum Kingdom right there. You got some big thunderstorms blowing up just to your northwest. Those kind of started off as some little supercells, and they still kind of are. But they're getting absorbed by the larger spin to the northwest there over into southwestern parts of Young and parts of Throckmorton County. You can see almost the merry-go-round there. So with area of low pressure like this, you know, that's your stuff feeding into it here, and you got your outflow this way. So there could be some pretty strong wind gusts moving over Throckmorton. Over Possum Kingdom. You're really seeing it pick up now some too. So there could be some strong wind gusts there and into Graham here pretty soon. And looking up north here too, of course, that's hitting it up high in the atmosphere. It's pretty good winds maybe with this little thunderstorm that's moving through Ford and northern Knox County. Even though it's elevated, there's still some decent wind gusts with that, looks like maybe. Mostly a hail producer though. Heavy storms moving through southern Wise County, through the northern parts now of Jack County. Some of this activity might build into Jacksboro, but the worst of it's building over into Wise County. Bridgeport, Decatur, and eventually down into Denton. Strong wind gusts, heavy rainfall. Then that's going to make its way towards the metroplex. But the strongest is where you see these spins. These are called mesoconvective vortex areas. South of Durant and kind of near up Ataka, those are where you see those bigger spins with the stronger wind gusts there. Moving into Sherman, and then he's down here towards Throckmorton here west of Breckenridge. That's where you see the worst of it there. Very interesting to see, no doubt about it. And you can see that broad spin moving into southwestern Young County here. Nothing tornadic, but I mean, you could see a little spin up in that at some point, but nothing tight enough to go with that yet. Southwest of Graham for sure. But you could see some pretty gusty winds. Elizeville and down into maybe the Possum Kingdom area, Breckenridge, northern parts of Palo Pinto County. Pretty strong wind gusts in those areas.
And then tonight, and this is big storms moving just east of Abilene, down towards Baird and those areas. Big storms in Albany, Texas. These are some big wind producers down this way. And then the storms back here are being warned for hail. But at least for us, this bite was, the bark was much worse than its bite. Look at that spin. That's just impressive to see that, the spins you see within this. You see small things happening in the atmosphere. You see hail increasing a bit with this storm southwest of Graham. That storm is perking up quite a bit here. You can see the spin with it. And all that's just south of Graham, south and southwest of Graham. And you can really see, some strong wind gusts in there, right along the border of Palo Pinto and Graham, Young County there, just south of Murray. So there is some broad rotation, but it is not tornadic. You don't see any type of tornadic signatures in those areas. But those winds are increasing down there, headed towards Breckenridge. In Jack County right now, all is well. Just some showers and some storms. The worst of it's north of you here. Bowie, it looks like there could still be some hail there on the south side of the city and headed into Sunset along 287. Worst of the weather is now out of St. Joe and is out of Nakona here. Strong wind gusts are now making their way down into northeastern parts of Jack County and down into Wise County, southern parts of Monte County. Strongest winds that I see on radar, though, is over here, kind of into the Bowie area, kind of moving through Lake Amon Carter, about to move over here into parts of Wise County. But we're continuing to watch this here as it continues to make its way south and southeast. Maybe there's some decent winds there on the backside of this stuff in Archer City as well. But strongest storms are down here into Young County. Look at that spin down that way. Still very impressive. Now, some of these storms that are spinning to the south may spin north into Graham here pretty soon with some downpours and maybe some small hail. Could be some gusty winds with that too, but the strongest winds are to the south there. I mean, that is an impressive little storm, comma head-like complex. You know, you can see the spin on it down there. But if you look at the velocities, there is not a tornadic circulation. It's just broad rotation in it. Pretty strong winds, though. The winds are picking up in this storm of southwestern parts of Young County here, southwest of Graham here. So Cameron, do we have Cameron? Cameron, I know you're headed to Newcastle, but the worst of the weather is southwest of Graham, I believe.
Yeah, I haven't really been able to look at radar because this drive, it's been very in and out of cell service. So, I've been listening to you off and on, so I've kind of just gotten bits and pieces, and radar data is not consistent for me right now. So I'm a mile and a half out of Newcastle, so I'm going to be there in just a matter of, a few minutes. But the roads, it's just been a hard, go around. Oh my gosh, possum. It's been a hard go around just because these rural roads don't really handle the water too well. And of course, you got the blinding rain in place as well. So yeah, I just lost you again, my cell service. So it's just, very, very hard to keep cell service out here. And because of that, it's been hard to keep up with radar. So I'll be in Breckenridge in a matter of, not Breckenridge, excuse me, Newcastle in literally a mile. So if I can get you back in my earpiece here, it sounds like we got you back. If you can give me, an idea on what you're thinking the play should be at this point, let me know.
Well, you're listening to me right now. I know all the good stuff, or all the bad stuff, I should say, is down here well south of where you are. So if you look at where Newcastle is, there's broad rotation down towards Murray and just southwest of Graham here. People are asking, is that going to move into Graham? It looks like to me, Graham could be on the north side of this, but it might be just south of Graham where the most of that, there's some pretty destructive winds though, moved across Throckmorton County and down into across northern Palo Pinto County. And these strong wind gusts are going to kind of spin over towards Elizaville and to the east there. So, if you wanted to try to get in those winds, I don't know that you could make it because you'd have to drive down from Newcastle into Graham and then go kind of southeast from there.
And, these storms may wind up going too far to the south. So you may be out of play, but it's, but there are going to be some heavy rain into Newcastle. But if you drop down to Graham, if you can make it, Graham to Bunger, that's where the strongest of these storms are located at this point in time. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with those thunderstorms. So if you want to, when you get to Newcastle, maybe take the drive down towards Graham here and then kind of see what's going on from there. So that's what we're going to do. Did you hear me, Cameron?
Yeah, I think I heard you. Go to Graham, and then I believe south out of there, you kind of broke up. I mean, this is kind of frustrating how poor the cell service is down here. But I believe you said go to Graham and then drop south-ish out of Graham. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm definitely I put Graham on my GPS. That's my first stop is Graham, and then I think you said southeast out of Graham, right?
Well, we'll just see go to Graham and we'll see where we're at. I think you're not too far from Graham. So go to Graham and then we'll kind of reevaluate from there. But it's pretty strong thunderstorms just south of Graham. So is 4 right now. These storms are really blowing up here. You got this nice big broad rotation, and this is southwest of Graham. Now in Graham itself, you're going to be the northern side of this. You could get some downpours, but as far as anything too significant, that might stay just south of you. Large broad scale rotation, not anything tornadic here, but you can see those strong wind gusts are really increasing. And there's your new severe thunderstorm warning that goes and covers the area just south of Graham. It's going to be kind of down towards Bunger. So I do look for the damaging wind threats to increase here along the Palo Pinto and Young County line and maybe even into Bunger. And from there, it's going to kind of probably head down towards the southern side of Jack County here, just south of Jacksboro. But that's what we're seeing right now. That's a pretty strong wind gust area there, especially moving into the Elizaville area. So, and those winds are increasing down that way. That is a really good spin. A fairly significant area of rotation there. But that's one of those, what I call mesoconvective vortex areas. Now you look back off to the northwest, we did got a hail-producing storm about to move back into Seymour here with some downpours. That's going to drop south of Vernon, maybe, like I say, impact Seymour, and then kind of some of the same areas that have been being impacted by all this stuff. I believe a lot of that's going to stay west of Wichita Falls. I think these storms out here, most of them are going to stay west and southwest of Wichita Falls. There may be a little more activity, but I don't think the bulk of it's going to hit here. So looks like we got confirmed tornado on the ground over here near this area south of Durant. And that is way on the way from the radar site, so it's hard to see that. Got a little spin up there, kind of just northeast of Denison. Back over here, you got some pretty strong wind gusts headed into the Sherman area now, east of Gainesville, east of I-35. This is north of Denton, but there are some gusty winds coming into the Sanger area just north of Denton. Then you got these gusty winds coming out of Monte County down into parts of Wise County here. But, it doesn't look as bad. This is not as bad as, again, you got where you see these little MCVs or these little areas of rotation. That's where you get the worst of the winds, kind of over into this area here, and then this area down here. And that little circulation, little supercell on the forward flank of all this is kind of flirting with Possum Kingdom, kind of over the northern shores of Possum Kingdom. I wish I had a tower cam down there. I mean, you don't really have, anything significant in terms of tornadic rotation down there, but you do got broad rotation there, kind of south of Graham. It's pretty good wind there from about Murray down to the border there, Crystal Falls, and over towards Bunger. Pretty good wind gust over in that area here. And that is staying south of Graham. So Graham should be okay for now. Oh, okay. This is this stuff back up to the north. I mean, it looks like it has a lot of wind with it when you look at it out of Abilene, but it really doesn't. Still some pretty good wind gust over here, kind of along 287 there. A little bit of a circulation out of the Frederick, hitting it up way up high. But there is a little bit of a circulation there just south of Bowie coming from the radar site out of Frederick. And you can also see that little circulation out of Fort Worth as well. So there could be a little bit of a spin just south of Bowie there, embedded within this, kind of headed down towards Sunset, and then from there kind of moving into northern parts of Wise County.
So Breckenridge, Alvord, we're keeping an eye on that for you. A little bit of a spin there, nothing major, but a little bit of a spin there could enhance some of the damaging wind potential as it moves down towards Bridgeport and Decatur along 287 into Alvord in those spots. So I am watching that area. Bowie, the worst of the weather, at least over most of Bowie, has now slid to the southeast here. Heavy rain over Forestburg, hail over the Sunset area between Bowie and Sunset. Small hail, it's not very large. And again, you do see from time to time a little bit of spin in there. It's so far from the radar site, though, it's hard to make heads or tails of it. But I do see it. That's out of Frederick, and it's probably hitting it up pretty high in the atmosphere. And then this is out of Fort Worth, and you can see a little spin there embedded within it. A little spin up maybe. But it could be north of an outflow boundary, so that could be a little bit elevated. Hard to say. But those are some pretty intense storms. Back down to our storms in Young County. Pretty heavy winds there. Nice little merry-go-round look to that. Pretty strong wind gusts well southwest of Graham. And these will slide down into more of southern parts of Young County, south of Graham. And they may move over into southern part of Jack County. But, that's going to wind up this is going to wind up producing a lot of damaging winds. This little area of storms here, this will wind up producing a pretty good swath of some damaging winds kind of down through here for the remainder of the night. Kind of towards 281, kind of towards Interstate 20, maybe even Weatherford. And then you got this area over here that's showing some increase too. And this could wind up producing some damaging winds here. Kind of down into this area there. That's where a lot of it's going to be. But again, we saw this lull up in this area, and that lull happened as a result of those daytime showers, those early daytime showers that we saw chewing up the instability over us. So that helped us out. Not complaining, I'm happy. I got my, this morning before I came to work, I worked on getting my, all of my vegetation all secured from the wind. I made a wind block for my squash and cucumber plants. I made a cage around my tomato plants, and I didn't even need it. So I'm not complaining. So, but everything pretty much is behaving here, All right, so what I'm going to do now is, I've been talking since about 6 o'clock straight. I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to get me a little bite to eat. So where is your house at right now, Tracy? Where are you at? Yeah, I know a lot of that has wind, so real-time estimate. So Garrett's down in the PK area. So let me go down there and look in the PK for you real fast here, Garrett. All right, so over PK right now, there's Possum Kingdom. You can see the lake right there in the middle. So there's, of course, a lot of thunder and lightning there now, and there's some heavy rain that's kind of on the north side of PK here. The southern side, Hell's Gate, those areas might be seeing a little shower activity, but the worst of it's just north of there. And you can see this spin coming at you from the northwest. So these strong gusty winds with this part of the storm are going to just continue to dive down into this direction here. And then you'll wind up getting this thing kind of bowing on out over into this area as well. So heavy rain will be developing over PK here pretty soon. But those gusty winds are not moving very fast, so it could still be a while before they get to you. It's time right now, it's 9:30. Winds are pretty strong, but they're just west of Possum Kingdom. And it could be, I don't know. Let's say 10, 15 before those gusty winds make it into PK. So if you're out on a boat, get off the water. 10, 15, 50, 60 mile per hour winds there in the Possum Kingdom. Maybe even as late as 10:30 overspreading the lake. So between now and 10:30, probably closer to 10:30 than 10:15, 10:30 probably before they overspread the lake there. And you can see those bright green colors. That's where those strong winds are. It's kind of northwest of the lake, but they'll be there, like I said, within the hour, 45 minutes probably. So how bad is Decatur? Decatur appears to be, you got a little bit of outflow boundary pushing through there now, so some gusty winds, but the heavy downpours are going to increase from the north here soon. Heavy rain and small hail along with thunder and lightning, but maybe some gusty winds, but it doesn't look like it's too bad, to be honest about it. You know, you got an outflow boundary that's kind of moving in from the north here. You might see some gusty north winds along it. Then you got some gusty winds back here in Montague County, kind of towards Crafton. But it doesn't look too bad, honestly. Just some downpours and some gusty winds, and I don't think that Bridgeport, Decatur is going to be that bad. I mean, yeah, it's going to sound like it is, but from a weather standpoint, I don't think it's going to be that bad. Just some downpours. You got downpours moving through Sherman now, moving to the north side of the Metroplex here. Back over to Graham. These are the worst of the weather south of Graham. Now the thunderstorms are moving over Possum Kingdom now. They might see a little hail there too, but you know, the worst of the winds are north up into Young County. They're not even that bad there. There could be some pretty gusty winds, but they're coming into Ivan. The strongest winds are kind of over here over Lake Breckenridge and moving due south. And there might even be, all right, so here's something else I'm watching. There's a bit of a westerly movement to some of these strong winds. And again, that will probably be into PK by about 10:15 or so, about 10:15, 10:30. So, and that's got some rotation, a little circulation in that too. Not a tornadic circulation, but that might increase some of the damaging winds. So some really strong winds, probably around 10:15, 10:30 over Possum Kingdom Lake. So, you know, could get pretty rough there for a while. In addition to that, blinding rain. Over Seymour now, another thunderstorm's moving in, heavy rain and some hail with that. This is more of an elevated thunderstorm, so you don't see as much wind with these. This is mostly going to be just hail producers. Could be some gusty winds, but nothing major there. And that's moving, and it looks like the zone of the stormiest conditions here tonight kind of in this area here. Maybe some of these storms over spreading Wichita Falls, but I think the worst of it, and there could be some pretty big flooding down in this area. But then you get the wind. The damaging wind events come together now. Kind of in this area, and that moves like this into the Metroplex here. And then, you know, Stephenville, along Interstate 20, Abilene, you know, kind of here overnight. So if you're in Fort Worth, Dallas, Weatherford, Mineral Wells, Stephenville, maybe even down there to the south of that, you know, heavy rains and wind. This is not anything you haven't experienced. As a matter of fact, you've experienced worse weather this spring. You know, there's just going to be some gusty winds, downpours, that kind of thing. A lot of lightning and thunder with it. This is not going to be the knockout blow we kind of thought maybe 24 hours ago. So, but flooding is going to be a problem here in Baylor and Throckmorton, maybe Young County. Knox County, those areas. But thankfully, the worst of it's going to miss Wichita Falls. The worst of it overnight will kind of be in this area here. With the winds pushing out in this direction there. And then these hail producers coming in on the west side there. But this area here might not see much. So that's that. All right, its time right now is 9:40, and I do appreciate you all watching here. So most of the streets flooded in most winds in Elizaville. Wind blowing pretty good. It's a north wind behind that outflow boundary. Yeah, I think the worst of it's over with in Bowie probably. There might be some rumbles of thunder coming in late tonight, but I think the worst of it's over with in Bowie here. 6 inches of rain that fell in that storm. It must have 6 inches, a lot of rain back there in the Mundy area. I'm not sure what's going on in Wichita Falls. The worst again is over with in Bowie. You know, there could be, I don't know, but there could be, with all this lightning, there could be some fires around perhaps, maybe. You know, so Garrett, you know, the wind dust that I'm seeing down in PK, you know, that's pretty strong winds coming in there. For right now, the strongest winds are going to pass, you know, they're kind of passing south of there. But, you know, there is increasing rotation just to the west of Breckenridge. Or excuse me, to the west of Possum Kingdom. not tornadic, but you know, we could be winding up seeing some really strong winds in this here soon. And so if I take a look at this, that's a pretty significant thunderstorm, by the way. That's 50-mile-per-hour winds there. But this could increase some here. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, you know, by the time that gets to Possum Kingdom, which won't be too much longer from now, you know, some of those winds got up 40, 50, maybe 60 miles per hour in Possum Kingdom, maybe up to 70. I don't think you get 90. But 50, 60 is probably more like, let's say 40 to 60 into Possum Kingdom, maybe slightly higher, based upon what I'm seeing right now. 40 to 60, maybe a little bit higher, not 90. So I think your dock is going to be okay. But that's some pretty good winds, and it could still increase a bit, just based on what I'm seeing there. That's what I'm seeing. I think your dock will be fine, but that's some good winds down there. And there are these strong wind gusts elevated coming in there into parts of Wise County along the Jack County line, Lake Breckenridge, some gusty winds, 40, 50 miles per hour. Look at those strong winds south of Sherman, though. Man, that's some strong winds there. Tornado warnings there south of Sherman. You can see now that's probably a tornado right there. Look at how sharp, how tight that couplet is. North of Farmington, moving south of Sherman-Denison area. That's some really strong wind gusts there. And probably a little spin-up tornado within that as well. Denton, some gusty winds about to move into your area behind that outflow boundary. But this area here, to me, this doesn't look as bad as the area to the west here, because this is kind of all forming behind an outflow boundary. The worst of the weather is kind of along this area over here. This is pretty strong, but not as strong as that points to the east and also points to the southwest. Jacksboro, some downpours, but nothing severe there. Heavy rain now pushing back through Seymour with some flooding and maybe some small hail, but that activity is largely missing Wichita Falls. But look at the spin down here now, just east of Breckenridge and coming into the Possum Kingdom area. There's pretty heavy rain over the north side of Possum Kingdom along the border of Palo Pinto and in Young County. But you can see that spin, nice spin there. You know, not a tornado warning there, but there's definitely a spin in that area. And that spin, that little couplet that you see might clip the southern part of PK, kind of going down towards Ivan, probably going to go just south of there, I bet. And I also think the strongest winds, pretty strong winds, and then a pretty strong north wind coming there pretty soon, like a northeasterly wind and a north wind. You know, again, it could be up to 60, 70, but I don't think you'll see that 90-mile-per-hour wind there. Now, west of here, we were seeing some of that, but even the winds there have come down a bit. But still some strong winds through Breckenridge and down to the north of Interstate 20, just east of Abilene. That's where the worst of it is. But there is broad rotation down here just west of PK and east of Breckenridge. And these heavy winds will be overspreading the Possum Kingdom area between about 10 and 10, 10, 15. Heavy rain, southern parts of Young County now, just south of Graham. There's some heavy rain in Graham, but the heaviest is going to stay south of Graham. Worst of the weather now through Bowie, but there's still some thunderstorms over you, but the worst of it is to your south, and that's going to be it once that mushes on through. And here these storms are back to the west. These are hail producers, but they're going to continue to impact the western parts of North Texas here. Now, we still can see a thunderstorm in Wichita Falls overnight, but not like it is off to our west and our south here. We really dodged a bullet again today, and I'm very thankful and grateful for that. We dodged a bullet. And, you know, while I still have off and on shower thunderstorm chances, you know, this might be it for our severe weather season. And, of course, this has lasted into June this year, and in most years it doesn't. But this lasted into June, and I'm hoping that this is it. It's been so active as of late. I'm hoping that this is it. So, all right, guys, I've got to jump off here. I've got to get ready for the newscast here. I've got to go. But thank you for joining me here on this Facebook Live, and we will have more information. Sanger just reported 90-mile-per-hour wind gust. So let's look at Sanger. Of course, that's a loft, but I do not see a 90-mile-per-hour wind gust in Sanger. I mean, it's some pretty strong winds there. But just according to radar, there's not there shouldn't be that kind of wind there, but there could be. I mean, I'm not saying there's not, but just the radar doesn't really indicate that. Yeah, it shows more like 40 to 50, but that could be wrong. There's your tornado north of Farmington and south of Sherman. That's a definite tornado there, or was. So, and you do have a little circulation down here in Wise County, but it's kind of north of that outflow boundary. That's elevated. But you do have some increasing winds now coming down from Montague County through the western parts of Wise and Jack over Lake Amon Carter and down towards, what is it down here, Lake Bridgeport. Pretty strong wind gusts. That's going to move right along the border there through Wise County. But it's going to stay largely to the east of Jacksboro. Jacksboro is going to be all right. You know, there could be some gusty winds up here and this stuff up near Seymour, I suppose. I don't really see it on the, out of Frederick, but there could be some. Could still be some. This could clip parts of Wichita County, go down into Archer County here. Could be some storms down that way.